ready to go, I guess. Welcome to this planning meeting for the York Planning Board for July 23rd, 2026. We have a quorum. We will have a quorum. I'll introduce the members of the board. To my left is Mark Cartier, an alternate. Wayne Boardman, board chair. David Woods, vice chair, and Gail Billett is board secretary, and Steve Friedman. So, since we have 4 here at the moment, then I will appoint Mark Carrier as a voting member for this meeting. And apparently there's no field changes, so we're ready to move on to the public forum. Public forum is the part of the meeting that we each meeting where we ask for comment or questions from the public on anything that's generally not on the agenda. Tonight's agenda includes the Union Bluff Hotel final site plan review in 8 Beach Street. There will be Woodbridge Road, 7 Woodbridge Road, Woodbridge Commons, and the third one is Bog Road Athletic Field Complex, a site plan amendment. Let's open it up to public forum. Anybody wish to speak about subjects not on the agenda or other questions of any kind? Okay, seeing no hands. Without objection, I'll close the public forum. Then next up, we have Union Bluff Hotel. I forgot to introduce E.S. Brendan and off-site we have Patience Horton, who is the recording secretary operating off town video. So Brendan, can you kind of tee up our first application?
Yes, sir. This is the Union Bluff Hotel. They have been before us a couple times before. This item was continued to this date from the previous planning board application meeting. This is a proposed 41-room expansion of an existing 40-room hotel, as well as the proposed construction of a 2-deck parking garage at the rear of the property. There were a couple of questions still remaining at the last hearing, namely over the gravel parking lots across the street, as well as the design standards for the York Beach Village Center, whether or not those have been met, and then a couple of engineering comments from Dean that the applicant should have addressed in the last couple of weeks, so we will see what they present.
Okay, there was some other lingering issues. Do we have somebody from, yes, please come forward and give your name.
Hello, my name is Zachary Stevens with Acorn Engineering.
Would you spell that for the recording secretary?
It's Zach Stevens, Z-A-C-H-S-T-E-V-E-N-S, and I'm a project manager at Acorn Engineering. I've been the project engineer on the duration of this project. And I can you share my screen to the, do I have to do anything?
Yeah, just take a second.
One item, question to address was something that was brought up in public comment about a conflict of interest that I'd like to speak about before we get going too much.
Sure.
Okay. So I'd like to address an item that was brought up in a public comment. My family does own property in the York Beach area. When this first application came before the board, I did not believe I had a conflict of interest, so I did not make any disclosure. Because this issue has now been raised as a concern, I believe it's appropriate to place these facts on the record. I do not have any direct or indirect financial relationship with the application or for the applicant of the Union Bluff property, and I do not believe the approval or denial of this application would have a direct financial effect on me. I remain fully capable of evaluating this matter fairly, impartially, and solely on the evidence and standards before the board. So with that disclosure, I'll defer to the board regarding if I should participate or not. So.
In my opinion, this doesn't fall within our guidelines for conflict of interest at all. But if there's even the question anybody on the board would like, we could hold a vote whether to allow them or not allow them to continue. Any comments?
I don't think there's a conflict of interest that's going to impact the vote.
Conflict of interest is quite specific, mostly having to do with monetary or other types of possible conflicts or involvement. Steve?
No, I think David did a very nice job outlining whether or not there is a real or perceived conflict, and I think we've addressed it nicely.
Mark?
I would agree. I mean, I think he's addressed it well. There is a question of bias, however, that is not allowed to be looked at. It's strictly a conflict of interest, the monetary conflict of interest. Since that's not there, I'm fine with the way it is.
Okay, so unless I have a motion, I will just leave it at that point. I don't think we need to hold a vote on that. Okay?
Thank you.
Sure. Go ahead and proceed.
Thank you. So Brendan, thank you for the introduction. So like you said, this is the Union Bluff Hotel expansion project from 40 rooms to a total of 81 rooms. And we're also constructing a parking terrace to the back of the parcel for a total of 103 parking spaces. The gravel parking lot across the street is also associated with this project that contains 17 parking spaces. We beefed up our plan set to include notes that that parking lot and lot will be included with this project in perpetuity. I believe that was a comment at the last planning board meeting from the board. And we also included within our submission material since the last planning board meeting that that the walkway on Beach Street would be brick instead of bituminous. And we also clarified that the wedding associated with the hotel does not trigger additional parking requirements. We confirmed that with planning staff. So the parking requirements did not change since the last time we were in front of you. We also addressed some comments from the Director of Engineering that Brendan just referenced a few moments ago. And the main updates to our site program that arose from those comments is that we added 2 additional light poles to our program, one at each vehicular egress into the parking terrace. So one on Beach Street and one on Freeman Street. And that increases lighting for the vehicles and pedestrians in those areas. And lastly, when we received...
Excuse me, was that on the plan? It's on the plan now?
It's on the plans now, and we provided updated photometric plan as well.
Thank you.
Yep. And lastly, when we received the planning board memo for this meeting, we noticed that the third-party reviewer added a few additional comments to this project. And that came in 7 days ago. We were able to address those comments pretty quickly. We submitted updated plans and addressed those comments to city staff on Monday, July 20th. And as part of that, we are requesting a waiver from the site plan standard, section 510, that requires all submission materials to be submitted 17 days in advance to a board meeting. We were unable to do that due to receiving the comments 7 days ago, but we were able to submit them before this meeting. And since they are minor and did not impact the site program, we're requesting that those comments can be reviewed as part of this board meeting, and we're happy to discuss them further if you have any questions.
What can you tell about us, Brendan? About those notes,
About those notes that were missing from the
ones that he's talking about?
right, the general plan notes.
Third-party reviewer
Yes,
comments.
yes, Chris highlighted the Town of York has boilerplate plan notes. These are included on every single site plan or subdivision plan that the board reviews. Chris was unable to find them during his review, so staff worked with the applicant to get those boilerplate plan notes included in this submission.
Was there anything else that was changed to the plans?
To my knowledge, yes. There were lighting fixtures at both of the parking terrace entrances, as requested by Dean. He has also reviewed those. Dean also carried out, sending the applicant the brick specs. We have a standardized brick that we use for any of our sidewalks, so that will match the rest of the village as well.
So, but it's not on the plan that we had previously.
Correct.
Question? Was there anything else on the, there was a number of new comments on page 7 of the review. Any of those need?
They were asking for cut sheets regarding
Right,
the lighting.
Cut sheets?
I can run through the list if that would be helpful.
Sure.
So the first comment is regarding lighting. He's saying he got the photometric plan with the updated fixtures that I referenced at the entrance to the parking terrace. He's saying the cut sheets were missing. We have not changed the cut sheets since 3 or 4 planning boards ago, and after we discussed cut sheets in length with the planning board, the sheets remain the same. Our cut sheets are about 70 pages. So since those were not changed, we didn't resubmit them. We've only been resubmitting revised material as part of our comment responses. But we did include a digital copy to town staff, and that has everything we've submitted, all sections, all plans. So we did submit the cut sheets in that, or that digital copy, just for hard copy's sake. If we threw the whole application at you every time, you'd be getting a big stack, and we want to give you the revised material for each board meeting.
Okay. And so go ahead.
Yeah, no, I can 100% confirm that, and I can also say that I believe it was in the December or the meeting just before that the board reviewed those cut sheets, as there was a question for the lighting temperature that was coming out to make sure that was above board, and I can confirm that those were included and have been included for a significant period of time.
Okay. Okay, we'll talk about the parking lot and site distance. Was just a clarification. A landscape plan stamped by a landscape architect.
Yep, our in-house landscape architects originally pulled the design together, and we had them put their stamp on it.
Okay. Any other questions?
Do you want to go through the review portion now, or are you just looking more for if it relates to the submission of the material early?
Yeah, so we've already talked about the lighting.
Yes.
And the addition of the plan set of some notes, general notes, that's what you were talking about on comment number 10, Brendan?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Or comment 11, actually.
Yeah,
Comment,
comment 10 is a single note. We just had to say the purpose of the site plan, add the individual lots of all the parcels associated with the project, which we did. Then we referenced the parcel owner. We just added that note to the site plan as requested. And then the next comment he had was he wanted us to change our off-site parking standard in our parking summary and just reference existing gravel lots so it's more clear. We're able to do that as well. And then the next note, note 11, is the town standard notes that Brandon was alluding to. It's on sheet C11 of that we provided you. I believe it's around a list of 20 notes, just standard approval notes talking about performance guarantees, approval process, as-built. It's just typical notes that municipalities have as part of site plan submissions. We were able to add those to the plan set as well. And then the next note, like you said, was site distance. We were able to clarify that the landscaping does not impact the site distances, and the property owner would be responsible for maintaining visibility for those plants so they don't impact view distances. And then the last comment is regarding the landscape plan should be stamped by a landscape architect. We're able to do that as well. So these notes were very minor, no design changes, and we're able to just update our plan notes as necessary in coordination with Brandon.
Those were updated, the
Yes.
site distance language?
Yes, there was.
anything else?
You saw that it was stamped?
I have not seen the landscape stamp. I think that is probably a miss to me, but
It's in my presentation as well. I can,
Yeah, sure. It wouldn't hurt to just
I'll show you.
pull it up.
We would just have to grant the 5.10 submission of material after the
Yes.
17 days.
Right.
It's right here on the screen.
Okay, can you zoom in?
Oh my goodness.
Okay. All right. Then I'll take a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to grant a waiver to 5.10, the 17-day submission rule for Union Bluff Hotel, final site plan review, 8 Beach Street, map 24, lot 35, 36, 37, and 40.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved by Gail, seconded by David. Any other questions? Call for a vote then. Mark?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 5-0. What else?
There were some items brought up in the public letters.
Yes.
If you want to address some of those, I have
Sure.
two specifically. One, I believe we had addressed last time, which was section 8.1.8, which mentions about blocking the parking within the lot. I'll pull it up real quick. Brendan, is that site and sub or zoning?
I believe that is that would be site sub. Zoning, section 8 is shoreland.
Thanks. So 8.1.8 states that all non-residential sites shall provide off-street loading facilities sufficient to meet the need of the use. Loading facilities shall be located and designed so that delivery vehicles can be parked completely on-site. The loading area shall not obstruct on-site traffic flow, but may allow for temporary use or blocking of some on-site parking spaces. So I think that the comment was possibly missing that last sentence where it says you can block temporarily. But it's worth looking at. I know that was kind of where the board asked them to have the area, so I was just bringing that up. We did briefly talk about it last time, but I just wanted to revisit it where it was in the letter as currently again.
Any other ones that want to bring up?
Yes, there's a off-street parking consideration, zoning ordinance 15.1.1.6. It actually says we need to consider, I'll read it. One moment. So, just brief summary. It gives us a leeway to grant off-site parking, but it does go through and state that the planning board shall consider the following concerns in rendering a decision to allow off-site parking. I don't believe we've really gone down each of these items. So it was the first item, the character of the area where the proposal to use off-site parking is requested. That's one item. The size of the proposed structure or use and the amount of parking it may require. Number 3 is the availability and location of off-site parking to support the proposed structure or use. And the reasons why the proposed structure or use cannot provide adequate on-site parking. And then measures performed by the applicant, such as, but not limited to, the applicant paying the cost to construct an off-site parking facility and allow this facility to serve an identified public need for parking. And the consistency of this proposal with the Town of York Comprehensive Plan. So this is unique where the lots already existing and currently in use for this lot?
Yes, it is an existing use. We've received a lot of comments about this and as a major point of concern.
Turn your mic on.
Thank you. Staff has received a number of comments about this, as it's been a point of concern for abutters. Looking through the historical record, we have aerial photographs of the parking lot being there since the mid-'70s. And judging by that, the dimensions have not changed over time. And looking at site plans as well, we have three that we've been looking at. Two for the Union Bluff Hotel, one from 2007, the other one from, I believe, 2017. Both of which show the parking lot or the gravel lot as exclusively for the Union Bluff Hotel. And then there is one for the Meeting House, which also shows the lot as exclusively for the Union Bluff Hotel. So also assessing records indicate that current management purchased the lot back in 2021. So it is a legal existing use that has been established at this point and is legally owned by the applicant.
So do you feel that this is something that we would need to approve, or because it's already existing and in use, what would your recommendation be?
I would recommend to the board to make a motion to approve it anyways, just because this is a significant change. Having that on the record that the board still approves of this, and as well as the applicant indicated, this would be locked in perpetuity. So I think having a board decision to cement that would be best. If they deem it appropriate, I apologize.
Would anybody like to make a motion?
So it would be a motion to approve off-site parking.
Is there a lot number?
40A, is that correct?
Yeah, I think it's 40-A. I can confirm.
Yes, 40A.
Okay.
So I move to approve the off-site parking, for the Union Bluff Hotel, map 24, lot 40A.
Do I have a second?
Can I ask a question before we second it?
Absolutely, sorry.
That's that space across the way that didn't, I think Crystal had a question about, is that legitimately a 17 space? So if we make a motion to do this and okay the motion, is it appropriate then to go back and question the size of that and how many spaces are in it? Because that was a bit of a conversation that we had in the last meeting. Does that make sense?
How many spaces are on the plan?
This parking lot right here, where my cursor is, we show 17 conforming parking spaces with these dash lines right here.
But we had a discussion about the erosion and having tried to park in those spaces and not really. And so the conversation carried on that needed to be looked at and shored up. So my question is, as we go through doing the motions and making these decisions, does that need to be just, clarified before, during, after? Does that make sense?
We added a note on our plans that reads, owner to maintain parking area and address future erosion issues and ensure total parking out remains.
I don't think that's
Understood,
sufficient.
that's not, yeah.
That's not sufficient, though.
What-
We had a
The question
concern.
is the validity and size of 17 spaces currently. And there's a question as to whether or not there are 17 spaces and they conform.
I guess I would point to our survey. Right now, we're showing the existing limits per the survey that was recorded, and we're not expanding the existing gravel area farther planned south. We're addressing it on this right side right here, very minorly. I think we call it out on our plan as 57 square feet of gravel at the head of 2 parking stalls to make sure those are conforming. And then there's a couple areas where it extends out farther than it's needed, and we're proposing that those extended areas are removed. If you look at sheet C11, it shows those extents.
Okay, what's the date of the survey?
Last revised 8/11/2025.
It's pretty current.
So, just because you weren't here for that meeting, the concern was that we've tried, some of us have tried to use that lot when there's only been like 9 or 10 cars in there,
No room.
usually trucks, and there's no room. And so, the question that we had was, is that current, and what's going to be done to ensure that, A, there is the appropriate space, and B, that that will be maintained, because it appears to be eroding at the end,
By the end, are you saying like,
the closest to the water. So when you go in there, so
The end farthest from the road.
these spaces here appear to be eroding here. And so we had a question, because I think the general concern here is that we're trying to come up with spaces. We're not, you guys are trying to come up with the appropriate spaces. And we seem to be trying to pinch space, and is there really the appropriate space there?
I hear your concern. I think I would just point to the survey. The survey illustrates there is enough room for 17 9 by 18 parking stalls. We have a note to maintain those parking stalls and address future erosion issues. I mean, I think that's the response I gotta give you.
The state's gonna let you, if it erodes, fill that back in?
I think you're allowed to maintain your existing pervious area with gravel. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, you're allowed to maintain your parking lot.
And how do you propose to police that there's only Union Bluff guests in those parking spots?
With signage, violators will be towed. I think maybe signage like that. But I would defer to the existing signage, Union Bluff parking sign to remain. I think we just have to add, there's existing signage there, and I think we just maintain it.
Yeah.
One of the discussions was to put, obviously striping it isn't going to last. Those cement preformed blocks that go ahead of each parking spot that virtually designates where the parking spot is.
The wheel stops.
Wheel stops, yes.
Are you asking if we can include those as part of our project?
I thought we discussed that at a previous meeting.
It was at the
Because
last
it could
meeting.
be that there's 17 spots there if everybody parks correctly, but if people don't park right, that's the issue.
Yeah, I hear that, and I think the first thing that comes to my mind is plowing with those there. I think what you're saying makes sense. I think the applicant would be amenable to adding wheel stops at the end of those stalls if desired by the board to formalize the parking area.
Anybody thoughts on that?
My only thought is the items listed in 15.1.1.6 kind of go through some of the concerns the board might have. Character, the size, proportion of the structure. These are all the reasons we'd be considering that off-site.
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
It was more just a statement of needing to consider 15.1.1.6. I did make a motion. Should I rescind that motion? It has not been seconded.
If you wish.
I will rescind my motion for
Okay.
further discussion.
So what I'm seeing in this paragraph is the specification and what you have to do to use an off-site parking facility to satisfy all or portion of the parking requirements.
Right.
It doesn't talk about construction of the parking there.
No, that's mostly in the parking section of the ordinance. I believe what the applicant's stating is that they're meeting that requirement.
There's a requirement, I know in there somewhere, of what the size of the parking spots are supposed to be. You know that off the top of your head?
Typically, in most municipalities, it's 9 by 18. I believe that's the case in York as well.
Which is what you have in
Yes.
your paved parking lot, correct?
Yes.
And you were using 9 by 18 as a way of determining how many parking spaces there were
For the gravel lot as well?
for the ground
Correct.
gravel lot.
Correct.
And when you did the survey, that's what you based the drawing from the survey on.
Yep, we got the existing line work from the surveyor, and that's what we sketched in. And we sketched in these existing gravel area. Then we used the standard parking stall dimension to mark out how many stalls could actually fit in that location.
And that's detailed on sheet C11.
Correct.
What else? What else would you like to see?
The size of those parking spaces don't look similar to the size that are up on the parking garage.
The scale of C11 is 1 to 10, and the scale of C10 is 1 to 20. 1 inch equals 20 feet. The scale of C11 is 1 inch equals 10 feet. So the drawings that are a different scale.
The drawings are a different scale.
Not on the sheet you're looking at right now, but the drawings I provided you, the engineered drawings, are at a different scale.
Okay, then, question still stands, they don't look to be the same size.
They look bigger because one is 1 to 10. The detail is 1 to 10, and the previous sheet is 1 to 20 because it includes the whole property.
But the one that's up on the screen is all the same scale.
Yes.
They don't, at least to my eye, don't appear to be the same size. They appear much longer.
The gravel spaces appear longer.
The parking garage appears longer, like you don't have the space. If you were to extend those lines that you have in the parking garage and take them down to the gravel lot, the impression I get is that you have a very narrow backing out area or pulling in area.
I don't have a scale with me. I could pull up drawings on my computer, but we're adding 57 square feet to the parking area to make sure we have the standard parking stall and an adequate drive aisle.
So based upon our conversation in the last meeting, I thought you guys would be coming back with more verification of the whole situation. The lot was a big deal in our last meeting, in our last conversation. And I thought he said he was gonna double check it, make sure it was remeasured and stuff like that. So I was expecting that there'd be a little bit more confirmation, or a little bit more solid information about that lot, because every space seems to count here.
Okay.
And I think the second question I have is that, you said that you went back and confirmed that you didn't need additional spaces for the wedding venue. But I would assume that if there was a wedding, that those spaces would be taken up pretty quickly. So where's everybody gonna park?
We discussed this with the town planner. It's our understanding the wedding use is baked into the hotel use. It's my understanding they've
That's been
utilized the
kind of a
hotel
bone of
as
contention that's been kind of a bone of the contention from the beginning, is if you bake it in, then you need more spaces.
it's my understanding the intent of the land use code incorporates that interpretation, and the wedding use would be associated with the hotel per the land use code.
We discussed with the code office, and what they determined was that the wedding venue would be incidental to the use as a hotel. So there is no extra parking requirement after the fact.
Understood, I heard that that's what you said, but my question in all practicality is, if you have a wedding, those spaces are gonna be taken by wedding guests, or could very well, so where's everybody else supposed to park?
They would have to park off-site and find their way to the venue, or they'd have to be,
I don't mean the wedding people, I mean your guests.
the wedding,
Your hotel guests.
the parking is for the hotel guests and the restaurant users. It's not for the people who come to the wedding would either need to park off-site and make their way there, or there'd have to be a guest at the hotel to park.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I'm just saying in reality, if you have a wedding and people park in those spaces before others check in, I'm just wondering where everybody, your hotel guests, you're not going to kick the people out of the parking spaces for hotel guests.
I think management would have to make sure that people attending the wedding would not be utilizing those parking spaces. Like that'd be an operations concern.
There is valet service.
Could
there.
you please,
Ryan Amin, Geary Hotels, principal and owner, the entity that owns Union Bluff. And just confirming that there is valet service on the event function nights. So we have valet services that manage the parking and the arrangements of the parking spaces to make sure the guests have priority over the parking spaces versus the wedding guests.
and what, do you use off-site lots for valet service or just double park and that kind of thing?
To my knowledge, as of today, there's no off-site lots used. I can confirm that, but that's as my knowledge.
So, again, what does the valet parking do for you that regular parking doesn't?
So the valet parking controls the, who's taking up the spaces. So that way a restaurant guest or a wedding guest can't take up those spaces. They have to see the valet service. Same with the off-site lot. There's usually cones and a valet stand and service to make sure unauthorized use is not happening.
Okay. The code is kind of the one that we have to go by on this one.
Yeah.
If they say, that temporary parking is not something to have to make arrangements for, it's within code. Think about this. There's a lot of places, a lot of restaurants have temporary events. And there might be one big event each year, but we don't ask them to make a parking lot big enough for every possible number of persons that might show up on a given day. We have a regulation that tells us how many parking spots we have to have for different uses. And if the code says, I can only go by what the code allows once the spaces have been determined. No.
I agree with that, except in reading 15.1.1.6, it gives us some latitude to go outside of that if the off-site parking or the 17 parking spaces doesn't seem like it's going to be adequate.
Oh, you're talking about additional off-site
Yeah.
parking spaces.
So, that's what makes this tricky is because, if there were 10 extra spaces someplace or whatever, so that we had margins, but we're trying to argue for exactly the right number of spaces. When there could be other extenuating circumstances, and then we have 15.1.1.6, which says take those into consideration, even though enforcement says by ordinance, we have enough spaces.
The ordinance doesn't say that you shall use off-street parking. It says that if you ask for sorry, I'm reading this. Shall be located the same principle, except when the planning board approves an off-site parking facility. So the off-site parking facility
what's kind of before us is the performance standards, I guess, of off-site parking. I've got two items. One that I'm not as concerned with it kind of functioning as an existing lot since the 70s for the hotel. So there's kind of that established off-site use. And then I'm trying to find where it is in the ordinance. There's a standard for on-site parking. I think it's 15.1.2.2. All on-site parking spaces shall be located within 300 feet of the primary principal building. And even though this is off-site, it is still meeting that standard of on-site parking. So I see your point about the maintenance of the lot. I think at one point they actually had those concrete wheel stops, and then during the occasional tidal event, they'd get pushed around. So it almost became more of a maintenance and
More damage than.
more of a safety issue, having concrete being flung around. So I'm neutrally positioned on that as well. If they are using that lot as valet, then they can probably get a lot more than what the dimensional standard says is required if they double or just pack stuff in. So I personally feel like they're meeting the standards of the offsite, and I'd be more concerned if it was a creation of a new lot to the use, I guess.
Any other thoughts? So the question then is, well, number one, are those lots, is that lot sufficient for 17 vehicles? And the other question you're asking, is it sufficient for any possible event going on at the same time?
More item number one, is it sufficient?
Okay,
I mean, I totally hear and appreciate and accept the fact that, that what we're talking about for the spaces, but is this, actually going to do that? Again, when we're cutting it down to one, the exact number of spaces.
Right,
And so it makes it hard when there's no wiggle room anyplace.
right. And again, what happens normally when we say, well, here's a parking lot and the parking spots have to be a certain size? How is that different than this? It's just that it needs to be verified on site?
Again, I thought when we talked about this last meeting that both Crystal and I said we tried to park in there when there were only 8 or 9 vehicles, and it was hard. So he was saying that part of the follow-up would be to make sure that there still was the same square footage and that it will be appropriately managed. So
Yeah, the problem is we can't go by that. The board can't do a sidewalk or, do things that are not part of what everybody else gets to see.
okay.
Would there be note language or an approval or a condition somewhere that would satisfy? Again, it's not how many cars get parked in there, but how many legal parking spots are there? Because I know for a fact we've got a lot of very huge vehicles roaming the streets these days, and because I quite often can hardly open my car door when I park within the lines of a parking spot. So what would be the way to verify again that that's 17 spots other than the plan itself?
I would rely on the stamp on the plan, honestly. It's their license on the line stating that it met the standards.
There's lots of reasons why I myself would prefer to see a lot more parking than there is. Just trying to remain within what the regulations and how they're interpreted by code enforcement tell us.
I think as the nature of different businesses down there, there is a lot of public parking lots. I know there are wedding guests that will stay in other hotels in the vicinity. I see people in like wedding attire walking all the way from the ball field
Yeah.
regularly. So people will get there somehow, whether they're in a short-term rental for the week, and it's not saying there's a perfect capacity of parking down there, but the ordinance also gives the reduction by 50% because there is public parking, and we just don't want endless parking for every business. It's supposed to be, park in the general lots and walk around to where you need to go.
Right. I mean, I've been pretty consistent about not requiring more parking than is needed, simply because if we have a town with more parking than buildings, it's not a very, very comfortable place. But it's like, the stores have parking that they need, but if there's Good Friday sale or whatever, people might have to park away and walk, like the fireworks. There's people parked for the York Harbor fireworks all the way down on Woodbridge Road, and we're walking there. I mean, that's not the same as a wedding venue, but I don't know. I understand what you're saying, because I find it would be great to have a little more options, but I'm not sure what we can require. That's all. What is the board? What's the board's pleasure at this point?
Why is this for?
Because
Okay.
I have a motion?
So are we back to a motion on the parking space?
Yeah, unless there's
On the parking
more discussion on that, or the items of 15.1.1.6,
I think we discussed that thoroughly.
No. I mean, what might come up is if we get if we should in the future get an amendment to an approved plan for one of the other properties, then we start all over again and say, where is the parking for those properties? And that would be one way, and I'm not sure whether the code has any other suggestions for things like that, but again, I'm not sure where to go from here.
To me, the next step is to go ahead and
motion
do
for
the motion
outside.
for the offsite, since I think we're in agreement that that is appropriate.
And again, based on the fact that the plan says it, the plan's been stamped, everybody will know that those are supposed to be 7 parking spaces. If the code, or if there was a complaint and code came down there and found that, in fact, that was not the case. There could be some ramifications there. But again, quite often, when you go someplace, you have to park away from the facility and walk.
Would you like a motion?
Yes, if you're ready to make a motion.
I move to approve the use of off-site parking for the Union Bluff Hotel, tax map 24, lots 35, 36, 37, and 40A, for the off-site parking to be located at 40A in this instance.
Second.
Any other discussion? No? All right, call for a vote. Mark?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 5-0. What's next on the list to do here?
There have been the York Beach Village design
Yes.
standards. A few meetings back, I think once or twice we've reviewed them, but it was suggested that we wait more towards the end in case the design change or something on the lot changes the design. But I think at this point, we'd be safe to address that, and if the board feels that we could grant that.
Brendan, can we approve this with a single motion, or should we deal with specifics of the York Beach design standards?
If there's something that the board feels like is inadequately addressed, then you can go one by one. Otherwise, it would just be, you could satisfy it with a single motion.
As I recall, we looked at the roof line, we made some suggestions for roof lines and for one of the peaks to be a little bit more in alignment with the old building. There was HVAC equipment on the roof that we felt was inappropriate, and it was moved to the back of the building, shielded by fence. What else did we discuss about? Well, general massing, scale.
The cohesiveness with the existing structure where it was an addition versus a new structure, so the windows and the doors, I believe, were changed as well. We've had a lot of meetings. We're into orange with the review now, which is with this
Yes.
changes. So, being a new item to give a motion for, would it be to approve the design per the York Beach Village design standards?
That is correct.
Okay, is there a motion?
I move to approve the design per the York Beach Village design standards for the Union Bluff Hotel, tax map 24, lots 35, 36, 37, and 40-A.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, call for a vote. Mark?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 5-0. What else is up for consideration here? Other details. I have a question on a particular plan note. I wonder if you could pull up page 5. Well, it was 5 on the document that we had, one of the plan notes.
On the plan set.
On the plan set.
Architectural or civil?
Let's see, it's C. C10 perhaps? Yeah, C10.
Okay.
The general notes in the upper left-hand corner, note number 9. It said, truck loading and delivery shall only occur between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m., which is, I think, what we discussed. Loading shall not obstruct the flow of traffic on Freeman Street. I'd like to know what that involves. I mean, what does it mean to not obstruct the flow of traffic on Freeman Street?
I think the original note came from when the loading was on Beach Street, and we agreed that loading would only occur between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. That way, they couldn't be there outside of, noisy hours. And then when our delivery and truck loading moved to Freeman Street, as requested by the board, we updated our note just to have another note saying the truck should not be blocking Freeman Street. It shouldn't be, it shouldn't be in the right of way. It should be off the right of way on the parcel when it does its loading activities.
Okay. So that means that even if a truck is waiting to load, there still will be two lanes of traffic on Freeman Street the whole time. There should be nobody parking that blocks a lane in the, that's how I interpret it too, but I just wanted to make sure that was the plan, that it shouldn't block either lane if there's a truck waiting to get in while another one is doing their delivery. Does that sound reasonable?
Does to me.
I understand what you're saying. I think I would just to defer to our
Yeah.
engineer to make sure that's allowed, doable.
Yeah, we agree. That's the intent of the note.
That's the
It should
intent.
not be blocking the traffic on Freeman.
Okay. Because that's important. That's a narrow street. It gets some usage, and we shouldn't have a lineup. I mean, we submitted pictures that are on the record showing trucks parked there under the existing conditions and basically blocking traffic for a period of time. So I'm glad that's the plan. Okay, that was the question I had about that.
Okay. I had some questions with Chris's new comments. Not necessarily the comments, but we had kind of gone through them quickly. I was under the impression we were just talking about them in regards to accepting the information for those items, not necessarily approving those items or really getting into discussion on them.
Right, right.
So if we go through each one, or?
So that we know what the exact wording is. And so you have the plans that have been updated on there right now.
Yep, these are the plans, and we provided them to city staff on Monday, July 20th. And would you like me to run through the comments?
Yeah,
And our
so
Brendan would-
Brendan, would that be adequate for, we've already allowed it to be, we waived the 17-day rule. If we understand that the comments that are addressed in the changes are adequate, can we vote on them now? Or do we have to wait to get the full, well, you have the full print. We don't.
So with 510 being waived, it is waived across the board for this hearing. So it would be included it would be included as a part of the record now. I will just say on behalf of staff as a procedural method, if it's a conditional approval, that these conditions are verified by staff and by the third-party reviewers, such as Grohl Palmer, then we will do that, and we typically do that anyways, just because these are typically very large plans. There's a lot of stuff that you could miss, so we like to double-check to make sure that everything is actually addressed. So because 510 is waived, you could read it into a motion as it is. If the board would prefer to have more concrete conditions, then you can request that the conditions of both Chris or staff or Grohl Palmer be reviewed to verify.
Okay. All right. Do you want to go through those, David?
Yes. First one was lighting. If you,
Yep, so the comment is lighting. The applicant provided a photometric plan. Section 17 states that all lighting is designed to minimize light pollution, glare, light trespass, light glow in order to preserve the night sky. All of our fixtures are dark sky compliant. And then these days, there's no catalog cut sheets to support the fixtures that comply with the cutoff requirements. And as I stated previously, we've been not submitting redundant material. Those fixtures haven't changed in multiple submissions now. The director of engineering asked us to add 2 light poles. Those light poles are already spec'd on the parking garage. We added them as requested to the vehicular egress to the parking terrace. We added 1 light pole at each egress.
Do you have an image of that to pull up? Because at the time, we didn't know exactly what those were going to look like.
Are you asking for the location of them or the actual fixture? I don't have the fixtures up right now, but I believe we went over them at a previous planning board meeting in depth.
So what kind of a light is it? Is it a bollard light or is it
It's
a
a
overhead light?
It's a 12-foot tall pole mount light to provide dark sky compliant to provide lighting for the
similar
area.
to the parking terrace lighting.
Similar to the parking terrace lighting.
So similar being that this, basically the same, any difference at all with that and the parking lot lighting?
It's the same lighting specification. That's why we didn't provide the updated cut sheet.
That makes sense. I thought it was a bollard at
Yeah.
sidewalk level,
It was discussed at that time, yeah.
and that met the requirements of engineering, town engineering.
Yes, Dean reviewed and approved it.
Okay.
And and you submitted, is this the photometric plan or is there a more detailed one somewhere?
This is the revised
This
photometric
is the
plan.
revised photometric plan, okay.
It's-
Can you do further shielding of those driveway lights to make sure it does not, cross the center line of the road, greater than 1 foot candle or whatever the measurement is?
I discussed this with the lighting designer and the director of engineering. It's almost impossible to spec a fixture in that location without a little bit of trespass. That's why we did not have them originally. Originally, we had our pole-mounted light on the terrace that provided lighting at the entrances. Because if you provide a 12-foot pole-mounted light this close to the property line, it is what it is. And that's why we didn't have them originally. We were specifically asked to add these here, and that's why we added them.
Yeah.
We put them in locations to try to minimize it, but this is just the result of being required to add these lights.
Dean requested that for safety for the,
Yes, so that way pedestrians and vehicles would have adequate lighting at the entrances.
Yeah, and he's done that before. The ordinance is concerned with light trespass, but being the town engineer, he feels that the visibility in those entrances, he quite often kind of steps in and requests that. Okay.
I'm satisfied with that.
Next comment. With additional review of the plan set with an eye on some board members' comments regarding parking lot across the street, the following additional information should be provided on the plans. On the site plan, C10, new notes ideally at the beginning of general note should be added to address the purpose of the site plan. The subject parcel as it relates to the individual lots, map number with address, and that make the area of the, that make up the area of the lot is being considered for the site plan approval, and then add the parcel owner to that note. And we added a general note to C10, like you previously mentioned that the loading was note 9, it's now note 10. We added a note to sheet C10 to directly accommodate those comments.
the map and lot and those items.
Exactly, they're kind of hard to see, but there's note 1 right here. See the map lot and
Perfect. And
yeah,
the
Gary
owner
Unique
and all
is the
that.
property.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
The next note is that on our parking summary table, we should revise our language to provide more clarity. Instead of saying off-site standard with our 17 parking spaces, we clarified that it's the existing gravel lot, 17 spaces. So that was an easy update. updated that to both C10 and C11 parking tables.
Then 11, the town standard notes.
And the full board signatory block.
Yep, the town standard notes were provided by Brandon. I added them to our plans. They are on sheet C11. You can see we have quite a bit of notes added to the side of our plans here. And then you said, what was the next one?
Is there a signature block on?
Yep, so I had a couple full signature blocks on a couple different critical plans, like utility plan, site plan. I discussed this with Brandon. I included one of those blocks for the chair and the members on our cover sheet and on our site plan, which is one of our main plans for the program. Then the rest of the sheets just have board signature blocks. That way we reduce everyone signing every sheet. And then we have the utility and public works, fire. We have those signature blocks as well.
Okay, so that's all taken care of, Brenda. Okay.
And then the next comment was, sorry, backing up here. The board may want to consider a condition of approval that states prior to any changes to the use and the exclusivity of providing parking for the hotel on the gravel lot across the street, planning board approval is required. I believe the note we added that states that the gravel lot is connected to the ownership I'm just going to read it out.
And that will be maintained.
Yeah, parking lot for Union Bluff Hotel and restaurant guests only in perpetuity. So it's baked in to the site plan application. If there's any amendments, I believe you're required to go to site plan for, so planning board approval is required. So I believe we already hit that note by addressing the board's comments from the previous planning board meeting.
The only item in that comment would be if there was any change of use on the lot, but because it's already in site plan review, it would have to come back to us. Is that correct?
Right, if there was any modification to that lot, and that goes from physical to use,
Right.
it would be an amendment to an approved plan.
So with that note added, it seems addressed.
I think so.
Okay.
And then the next comment is regarding the site distance exhibit. He's saying the information is helpful, although he wants the information on the site plan. If there's concern the plan is cluttered, it seems like it could be done with a combination of symbols and notes. It should be clear that the owner is responsible for maintaining visibility, where it is noted that existing or proposed plants are within the site view lanes. And we provided a site distance exhibit. Our site plan is too crowded to show the landscaping plans. It just would be way too many symbols and too many notes. So we discussed this with town staff, where we continue to submit our site plan, or our site distance exhibit with the landscaping plantings shown with the view, with the view lanes.
And is there a note in there that the landscaping will be maintained to maintain the view?
Yes, we added a note to our site plan to reference the site distance exhibit and to maintain plantings. The owner should maintain planting height.
Okay,
Yeah. And then the last comment was about the landscape plan being stamped by a licensed landscape architect, which we have.
okay,
So you have addressed all of his new concerns.
okay.
Does the board feel that all those items, as we talked about, were addressed
No?
by the show and tell?
Yeah. Any other questions?
The one final question, who reviewed the blasting plan?
That is actually through code. I don't believe the blasting plan is included in the site plan review. That's more of a permitting process as opposed to the site plan review.
There is a note.
There is a note, though, yes.
There is a note that specifies how far away surveys have to be done to pre-blast to ensure that, correct me if I'm wrong, that pre and post-blast, so if there's any question. Can you find that? Yeah, you've got the blasting notes right there. And that's, what sheet is that?
Sheet C2.
C2. And that's what's required all proposals that involve blasting, basically. You've got a chart there, and it talks, well, why don't you explain what that little chart does?
So I believe this is just standard language that quantifies the amount of rock to quantify the blasting, the size of the blast for like how much you are blasting. I believe this is just standard language from, I think it's from our, I want to say it's from our geotech report potentially. It's just typical language we hold on our plans for projects that include blasted.
Just continue and explain what it does, what it explains. Just for the record, why is the three different categories of blast?
It's just for the amount of rock that you are blasting.
Yep, and why? Last column.
Oh, there's a server requirement if you're within a range of the blasting site.
So someone will come out and survey existing structures within X amount of feet, depending on how many cubic yards are blasted?
That's my understanding, and yeah, typically that's handled by the contractor or someone who picks this up after we have our approvals.
So my specific question is that for the first floor, that you have to blast down 9 feet, for the parking garage, 8 feet, for the pool, an indeterminate amount. And I'm just wondering, I mean, that's a pretty big blast up there. That could be impactful if there happens to be a fissure. I'm not saying anybody didn't do what they're supposed to do. I'm not questioning the guidelines. I'm questioning who, I mean, because that's a pretty big deal. If there's a fissure or a fault going down 9 feet. So who reviewed that from our side of the house?
Internally, that would be the Department of Public Works. Department of
And
Public Works.
they okayed all of that.
To my understanding, yes, they have.
Yeah, they do a lot of blasting of their own or hire
Understood,
contractors
yeah,
for
understood.
that. Yeah. Yep, so Public Works, and generally there's a meeting with Public Works and
Right.
who else?
That's the full pre-construction meeting is the applicants, their contractors, and then it's going to be planning, code, public works, fire, and police. That we do that before any kind of construction activities. Just that way all parties are on the same board. Everyone is aware of the requirements that are needed and what processes will come next. So in this case, with significant blasting, as you just pointed out, police, fire, DPW, and code will all be looking at that, and they'll be contacting also the state as well, largely because since this is, I believe this is more than an acre, if I'm not mistaken. You need a DEP permit for this, or
I think we just triggered an acre of disturbance.
Okay. So because of that, DEP will probably be looking into that as well. But they don't monitor blasting. They look for the after effects, the environmental after effects. So an increase of erosion or eroded materials going into waterways with the MS4.
So I'm just really trying to understand the process here, because it sounded like you said that these things will be done, that they haven't been done.
To my knowledge, the blasting notes have been reviewed by DPW. However, that's not within the site plan and subdivision regulations. That's not within our process. We don't have any of the procedural ordinances that we go through, and almost none of them touch on blasting. That blasting is such a specific field because you are handling explosives and dealing with rocks and seismologists, that it's more of a professional, pure engineering review, and the state will go off and approve whether or not that blasting can take place.
So I'm just trying to understand what our responsibility is for the blasting. Are you saying that that's not in our purview?
Correct.
Okay.
Basically, those notes on the plan notes are what highlights it and identifies that it will happen, and that from there on, the other agencies handle it. Which I'm glad.
Yeah, I just want to make sure, before you say yes or no to something, that we understand all parts of
No, good
the
question.
So
questions
there wasn't anything that we
Yeah.
were overlooking or?
that we were responsible for.
Yep. Any other issues, questions from the board? Did we have any other steps that we need to go through here if we want to move forward?
I didn't have anything. I had a few pages of conditions if we got to a point of that, but we just addressed all of them. Would there be other conditions of approval that anyone is thinking of that need to be?
Do you want to go through those right now and see if,
The previous conditions that I had kind of pre-worked were the ones to address Chris's new comments in orange that we just went through. I feel like all the items presented address that. I just wanted to make sure that there were no lingering items from those new comments.
okay?
Will the trash pickup also occur between 7 a.m. and 10 p.m.? Or is that just deliveries?
7 and 8?
7 and 8, sorry.
Yeah, and actually, just that's clarification I actually had thought of before is, it says, truck loading and deliveries shall only occur between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. I assume then that trash is included with truck loading and deliveries. Because it should.
Yeah, I don't have the section of permitting in front of me. I do not have an answer for that. If it needs to be, I'm sure the applicant could accommodate that. I know that a lot of trash removal sometimes they do in the earlier hours to get there. Well, no, well, the streets are empty and they can maneuver their bigger trucks. But if that's something that,
I agree with that even today, so if that's happening before, it shouldn't happen, and we need to send a notice to those vendors to make sure it doesn't happen.
So how about a slight change to the wording? Truck loading and deliveries, including trash pickup, shall only occur between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. Loading shall not obstruct the flow of traffic on Freeman Street. Is that an acceptable minor change to it? Does that make sense to the board?
It does.
It does.
I mean, you might assume it, but why not just put it in writing?
Yeah.
Do we want to specify compactors versus,
Well, that's,
Was
the
it
reason I
always,
didn't, is because that is included with the pickup, presumably.
or compactors versus dumpsters? For handling of the trash. I mean, I don't know if one is quieter than another, or if they're just all noisy.
we have two front load compactors
Okay.
on our plan.
Oh, you do?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, good.
So truck loading and deliveries, including trash pickup, shall only occur between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m.
Good catch.
So I don't know whether that should be a condition during our vote, a condition of approval, that language be modified to that?
I believe it should.
Yes.
What were the hours, just so I, 7 to?
7 a.m. and 8 p.m.
So the condition would say, condition to add trash pickup to be included for the hours.
To General Note 10.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, what was the note number?
General Note 10 on sheet
10.
C10.
Nine. Load,
It's General Note 10 now with because we had to add a general note for the third-party reviewer.
okay,
Yep.
great. So it's note 10.
So that'd be easier. Condition to add trash pickup to general note 10.
Yes.
Brendan, you had mentioned that staff would recommend a condition for the new material accepted at tonight's meeting to be verified. Does that still stand after reviewing it now?
Just for the sake of legality and keeping things 100% above board, I would say yes.
Okay. Would that be sufficient of to be verified or verified for
verification of the planning board's approval or approved items, or something along that line.
To address new comments, verified
Yes.
to address comments. So I've got two. Any other?
So there has to be a condition basically saying, referring to the notes that are going to be changed.
So when we accepted the material tonight, we accepted those changes.
Yeah.
So the motion to verify would be verifying those changes aligned with Chris's comments.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if the general notes weren't added, that condition would be to correct that.
Yeah, to add the general notes and to correct to Chris's comments. Correct.
So it's either verified or it's not verified,
Yep, yep,
and the notes either added or not added,
yep,
and that would be
yep.
a yes or no.
And we've already addressed the issue of the parking lot, that any changes to the use and exclusivity of the provided parking lot for the hotel would require planning board approval.
Yep.
Okay. We know that landscape plan is stamped by a licensed landscape architect. So they're just going to verify that it is in fact an approved landscape architect. Anything else?
David, did you feel that the abutter questions that you wanted put on record are sufficiently answered?
Yeah, it was the blocking of the traffic. It was just clarifying that last sentence. And then it was going through that parking item, just to make sure that we went through those
Yep. So you're good.
criteria to be able to approve that or to grant that off-site parking. I had a comment for the theaters, auditoriums, or amusement, but code had addressed that with the parking calculation.
Okay. So we're good, tied off on that.
Yep. Would anyone like me to make a motion?
Yes, if you're ready to go, including the conditions as you go.
I move to grant final approval for the Union Bluff Hotel, 8 Beach Street, map 24, lots 35, 36, 37, and 40-A, owned by Geary York Union Property, with the following conditions. Condition that the new material accepted on July 23rd, 2026 to be verified by town staff, that they address the comments in the peer review, and condition that trash pickup be added to general note 10.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved by David, seconded by Gail. Any other discussion? Okay, I'll call for a vote. Mark?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 5-0. Okay.
Thank you. I think
Thank
that
you.
was the first application that addressed so many last-minute comments and didn't need conditions, so that was unique for us, but
Okay.
thanks for being prepared.
I appreciate it.
Okay. um, Let's take this. Just, I would consult staff. Consult staff, planning staff, if you have any questions.
Thank you.
Let's have a short break, and we'll pick up the next application. Right, so we're a little behind schedule, so
Yes.
Yeah, if you can kick it more, I think it'll be visible. We'll see in the.
Yeah, it's really, it was more, I read that, I went online, it's the same thing, like, it was like, what do you mean am I supposed to do this? This is not,
A little bit of a delay. Yeah. We'll just have to, maybe if we show it, and then if there's details that you're pointing out, you can spin it for us. With like the
You look like
20-second
Vanna
delay
White.
that's there.
You look like Vanna White.
Okay, so next up we have 7 Woodbridge Road, Woodbridge Commons. Oops, we're missing Brendan. We'll wait till he shows up.
That's probably a good idea.
Okay, 7 Woodbridge Road, Woodbridge Commons, preliminary site plan. And Brendan, would you mind kicking this off?
Yes, indeed. So this was previously before the board, I believe in February or March of this year. Before that, it was reviewed as a sketch plan. This is a proposal for 7 Woodbridge Road that would include 4 mixed-use buildings. This is in accordance with Article 4 of the use regulations, which dictate that properties in the YVC 1 and 2 zones, fronting Woodbridge, Long Sands, and York Street, if you want to have residences in them, it must be mixed use. So it ties into that. Previous comments from the board, there were a number of items from LJB Engineering or Royal Palmer to address, as well as a couple of items from Chris's review. And there were some questions as well remaining from the board on site layout and flow as well.
Okay, want to give us a rundown? Introduce yourself first, please.
Yep. My name's Jeff Oliva. I'm with Civil Consultants here representing the applicant. Jamie Paolini sitting next to me.
Can you just put your mic on?
There we go.
Must be new at this.
Yeah, first time. Jeff Oliva, Civil Consultants here representing the applicant, and along with me is the applicant, Jamie Paolini. What we're proposing here from our sketch plan is an updated plan of a 4-building site development, mixed use with commercial on the first floor, residential on the upper floors, infill project in the village with access off of Woodbridge Road. Since our last meeting, what we've done and made some changes in discussions with the board and town staff is down near building 4, we increased and added a large patio for residents and potentially maybe the businesses that come in to be able to have an access for outdoor seating on that. We rotated and moved the buildings 1, 2, and 3 slightly. Building 2 was rotated and pivoted back to be more parallel with the property line. And what that does is that gives us a larger apron in front between the parking and the building to also have some more storefront open area for those commercial uses that are on that side. We talked about adding a sidewalk. We've adjusted the plan based on comments from Goral Palmer and town staff. And also, as per our discussion through that, we've presented a plan in the package. We have a landscaping plan for the project. And then also we had the discussion about the front setback requirements of 15 foot in the zone. Knowing that this property is a little unique, we had some discussions about how we can address that. And one of the, in the zoning ordinance has a footnote that allows the planning board some discretion to alleviate and adjust that front setback based on site conditions and some areas we've included in the package that was presented to the board, and I can pull it up on the plan as well. Little kind of pocket resting area along Woodbridge for pedestrian access We've tucked it in on the side where we have upland, so it doesn't impact wetlands on that edge. And what we have in there, if you do it, I'm going to stand up in a minute and just kind of turn to that page. That pocket seating area that you see there on the plan has some benches and some seating and some lighting that ties in to give some additional visibility along Woodbridge for the pedestrian access to the property. We feel that with that combined with our remaining of our landscaping plans showing trees and plantings around all the perimeter of the developed area, that we're, addressing the comments there with the unique site conditions of the wetland that's in between right there in the frontage on the property. Glad to talk about that as we get through the discussion here. The applicant has also presented the proposed building plans to the historic committee a couple times, making some little minor tweaks and comments, nothing special really changing, they were just kind of discussing commercial windows more than anything, and some colors on that. They feel like the next visit that they go to at the beginning of August, that they're going to get their approval from that board for the designs that they have on the section. Circling back to looking at the little pocket park that we had, there was discussion of having a pedestrian way to kind of cut through the woods on the back side of that. Looked at that and had questions with town staff about how that would be interpreted in the wetland ordinance and how that can go through for access and those kind of impacts around that. And then my personal feeling is looking at that and having some lighting along that frontage and bringing the pedestrian path along the driveway and into that side is a little bit more, I don't want to call it safer, but it's a little more visible to bring people into the property. And then we also have that sidewalk that runs along the backside that ties into the driveway that goes back to the library. So it interconnects that whole village section center on that. Again, I think I'm better at answering questions than monologues. But looking at, our proposed development, we wanted to look at smaller buildings to fit into the space to keep that village appearance. And I think if you look at the landscaping plan, it kind of shows the adjacent structures that are close to it. In particular, we've got buildings that are to the west of us on the abutting property there that are in similar size and actually a little bit bigger than what we have to have fit into this proposed village infill project on the site. And again, we're seeking preliminary approval tonight so that we can then work on final comments and come back to the board for final approval.
Okay, if there's any clarification questions from the board, now would be the time, but if not, we probably should open it to a public hearing. Any clarification questions?
I don't have any.
Okay, then, seeing how this is the first preliminary plan.
This might be the second preliminary.
Oh, I was thinking that was part of the sketch plan. I'm sorry. Then forget that.
I believe we had a public hearing at the last
Yes,
preliminary.
yes, we did. Yep.
But if
sorry.
there are comments, people can write in or,
Yeah, there will be another hearing should this get to final approval. Should this pass preliminary plan and get to final plan status, there will be another hearing unless we wanted to schedule one separately in the meantime. And again, written comments are always welcome from any interested parties. Then, since we don't have a hearing, then perhaps we'll look at the completeness review. We already did that, didn't we?
Yes, it was accepted as complete in
Yes,
February of
we did
this
that,
year.
obviously, and the capacity letter from the Waters District has been submitted, so that's not unusual then to be in that one. So we're good there then. Then, how about some of Chris' notes, or any other comments from planning?
Staff doesn't have any comments at this time. I think we should look at Chris's review just to highlight some of the things that we've been seeing.
I think the first actionable one would be on page 3 of his review.
Planning board, it appears there was concern regarding overall building layout, number of proposed buildings, determine whether the proposed application of footnote 5 is consistent with the purpose of the provision and the intent of the district. And footnote 5
Is the 15-foot setback.
oh, yeah. Yes, we did discuss that.
I think that's V too.
Oh,
Yeah.
it is B. Yes, we did discuss it. Ideally, it would be set back 15 feet, but we've got a wetland in there, and we've got two competing requirements. The one that takes precedent generally is the wetland. So,
Yeah, and that's where, in the section where it talks about the planning board has some discretion to increase that for areas for public use. And that's where we had talked about outdoor seating, gardens, pocket parks, green space. And that's where we came up with and listened to the direction to come up with this seating area shown on the landscape plan L1.1 for that area that calls out the materials, the brick pavers, the plantings and the seating around that interior tree well.
Another question on the maintenance of that. Is that still the property of this application, or does that go?
Yes, no,
to the
that
town?
should be the maintenance of this applicant.
Okay.
still on the property.
Yeah, a little bit, it straddles that line where the property line is, but the majority of it is on that space. The one thing that we didn't, that doesn't show in this is we had talked about extending that sidewalk up to the other road and along that frontage, about another 60 feet or so.
Yeah, that was, the town has in their plans, right, to continue the sidewalk along Sands Road from the monument, correct?
I believe that is correct, but I would defer to engineering on that one, as I'm not up to snuff on all the
And
most
of
recent
course,
plans.
it also depended on funds to do it, too. I think that was the plan, though.
Yeah, no, I think that, you're right, Wayne. I think that looking at those plans, there was that sidewalk, and I think the original intention is to eventually get it connected so that it connects to the sidewalks that go down to the plaza.
Yeah. Personally, I like that little pocket area, or seating area. It may seem kind of out of place right now, but hopefully if the area develops like it should, being more and more walkable, it will be something one suggestion I would make would be to put up a no smoking sign there. because
Yep,
That's what it's
Yeah.
what that corner's been used for.
yeah.
Any other thoughts on that, or on the frontage?
I think with it's related to the frontage, but not just the the feel and intent of the York Village Center. It kind of ties more into a different ordinance with the harmoniousness of buildings, so we can wait for that, but it's related to the fact that it's not 15 feet off the roadway, so that's mixed in a little bit.
Yeah, and whenever you have a driveway with buildings that face each other, it's always a little confusing. What's the front of the property? What's the front of the buildings? Well, you know what the front of the buildings are. Front of the buildings doesn't coincide with the front of the property, but
As far as the pocket park itself, I think it's a nice addition.
yeah.
And you did look into a bridge or something,
Yeah.
and it just too delicate of an area.
Yeah, I think it kind of contradicts the York wetland ordinance.
Let's stay away from it and then go directly through it.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
That makes sense.
And it kind of leads to the back of the building, which isn't ideal either, probably.
Yeah, and that's why we kind of wanted to make sure that that sidewalk, is lit as it comes on the property and down along the edge of this area too, keeps it lit right into the space. And that also ties into some of the other questions about what's a building face or not. That's why we looked at those areas, and you see on the renderings, those corner sides of the building have the architectural appeal. They've got the same commercial window size in detail. We've revised it from the first time. You can see it on those, of keeping that kind of same face, architectural face on those two sides. And really on the three sides, the only side that's is different is just the actual rear of those buildings.
Of course, the one thing I wish was different, and you probably know, is that tree.
Yeah.
That's
Unfortunately, there's really,
a 6-foot diameter. I've already forgotten the name of the species of tree. Beech. Boy, I wish there was a way of saving that. But it would mean, well, losing a unit. Or reconfiguring everything. You've obviously done what you can to fit everything in there.
yeah. And trying to keep it also kind of feeling like a, smaller village type of buildings in this site, and not being, it's not like the brick building right next to Cumberland Farms as you come into the village. It's not that tall area on that side of the face. We're tucked back away from that main, York Center, York Road frontage, and it kind of fits more into like I mentioned, the property to the west of it there that has some, houses that are smaller tucked in and around in that side, that village area. And then as you come through into the library and flows into the public space that has the bridge back to the backside of the Bagel Basket.
The narrative, that's number 3 on the review, talked about non-residential performance standards. Narrative has been submitted to the board to review and determine if it needs additional information. Any comments from the board on that?
I didn't put my eyes on that document. Do you know the page, packet, a PDF page number that might be in?
For,
The narrative.
oh,
Yeah, the non-residential.
the 6.1 section?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't, it's in, starting probably about page 22, maybe, of that. we have that comment and response section there.
Okay.
But we can go through them. You know, the project will meet the town noise ordinance. I've had the traffic review completed by city engineering and Goral Palmer. You know, no odors out through here on that glare. We've got all of our lighting is downlit and shielded as per the ordinance requirements and meets the required pole heights in those items. Stormwater, we've got stormwater treatment and we've got stormwater detention through the use of pervious pavers and underground storage for stormwater before it's discharged off the property. We have had that reviewed. We have a couple comments from Goral Palmer that we've made adjustments to, and then we'll get back to them prior to a final review. We have erosion control details on our plans. Then as we go through here, setbacks and screenings. 6181 is for exposed storage area, exposed machinery, gravel operations, that's not applicable. 6182, safety for children, screening to deter small children from entering the premises. I don't think that was really applicable. We have that there. Boundaries with existing residential properties shall be screened. We are proposing on our landscape plan plantings around the whole perimeter of the building. The property to the north is a vacant lot. To the east is the road. To the south is the existing bank and the access drive. And then to the west, there's a wetland section, and then it goes into Emerson Lane with some residential properties on that side. We have, as I mentioned, on the landscape plan, I can flip over to that if needed. We have that kind of covered around the perimeter. Parking lots, we have some landscaping where we can. This is a tight area where, again, we're using low impact design for stormwater to help us mitigate and address water quantity and quality. And then we've got the areas for parking and storage on that for this, you know, the smaller parking standards. No explosive materials. We have information on the preservation. Well, the preservation of the landscape, what I wrote in there is not correct, but, you know, this property is currently not, is vacant and wooded. We have our area development area that's in there. It's under an acre in size with what we're proposing. So we get this, we don't have to have DEP input on the project, even though we're still doing low impact design for stormwater controls. So we'll have those adjustments. No chemical or fuel storage here. And as we get into some of the questions that Chris had, the relation of proposed buildings to the environment. I think what we looked at here is this area in the village, and I've been kind of saying it through there, is that you know, the applicant has taken the buildings to the historic district. There's been no negative comment, just minor things on there. They have no issues with the building sizes and that. And then if we look at what we're proposing here is these smaller commercial residential buildings to fit into this and have some space in between as opposed to just one big building for that area for filling in with the village and having the sidewalks and the access and the open space through the site to be able to go from northwest to northeast and vice versa on that. The next comment is the non-residential performance standards. Yes, we know that in this section of the, in this zone, all commercial on the first floor. We will add a note to that as needed, but that's kind of implied as indicated in the ordinance that there's no residential on the first floor of these buildings. We have areas for dumpster and waste collection on the property. We've shown to engineering how fire truck and trash trucks can get access to that. Again, it's a fenced-in area for dumpsters that's easily accessible to all users of the property. Okay. And then the last one is drives and parking and circulation. You know, we have our on the plan. There's a parking table. As you know, the ordinance in this section allows for reduced parking in the village. Our plan requires 32 spaces. Based on the ordinance, we're providing 33 spaces. We're providing one additional handicap space, even though that, based on the number count, really only 2 are required. We're providing one near each of the proposed buildings to be able to have accessible areas for that.
Parking won't be designated, even for residents, won't be designated parking spots.
No, no designated parking spaces.
And the restrictions on office space on the first floor, that apply to this zone as well?
I do believe so. Let me verify that for you real quick.
One thing I kind of want to point out in Chris's review, that there's a couple mentions of YBVC zone.
Yeah.
And the performance standards for 6.4, but that's not the zone that this parcel's in.
It's YVC too.
So it's,
It's YVC 1, to my knowledge. For office use, business, financial, professional, or other government or government office excluding Town of York or school district office, provided the use does not occupy more than 50% in the rear of the street level gross floor area of a building adjacent to York Street, Woodbridge Road, or Long Sands Road.
So how would that apply for these?
So office space would only be permitted in 50% of the gross floor area and in the rear of the building.
So the front being facing the parking would become the front.
That would be, to my knowledge, yes, that would be the front facing.
So anything facing the parking area would have to be commercial, retail, not office space.
Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
Are you thinking flexible as far as that first floor?
Yes,
or-
yeah, being able to have that open in space and being able to move partitions based on the need. Obviously, I think if you look at Building 4, the one back there, that's, that first floor is probably ideal for a smaller restaurant in there with a patio space, even some of the other ones. The other building up in the corner is open to, a small medical use or something like that in there because, the building it's not huge, it's 1,200 square feet. But this gives the opportunity to be able to offer smaller, flexible commercial spaces for smaller shops that don't need that large area or that large rent. I'm going to say it from him, but to be able to get get that space filled in with the smaller footprints is easy. I think we feel is going to be easier than trying to have a large, 5,000 square foot area to fill.
Brandon, do you know offhand parking requirements for retail as opposed to office? I'm just thinking of.
where there's not a defined use, it's kind of up in the air.
Right.
The calculation of
Retail.
use.
Yeah, so retail, wholesale, or service establishment, one parking space for each 200 square feet of gross floor area. Offices are the exact same thing. However, gross leasable area exclusive of cellar and bulk storage areas for offices. So you can't include storage areas for your office space calculation or parking calculations.
So if, just going through the process, if the board approves as with an undesignated use, waiting for a renter or someone to come in, they would have to go through the code process to get a use approved, or would they have to come?
I believe that they would have to go through code. That is one of those items where it is a little unclear just because flex spaces are so
Right.
fluid.
Okay. I guess just if there was a parking concern, then that use might not be allowed, would be the, if for some reason the use needed more parking than the design had,
Yep.
that's a possibility for the use not to be approved.
Right, when you calculated the number of parking spots required, what did you base the?
Yeah, what we used is the office retail, which is the 200 square foot of gross, knowing that that's going to be larger than if I did an office, and like Brendan said, I can deduct storage or whatever. These are not going to have basements in them. So that was, you know, the larger area. And then we look at like a restaurant, then it's, you know, I think it's 1 for 3 seats, and then we work out that way. You know, again, these are kind of smaller spaces. And then also, we're in the public area where we have in the village where that allowable radius of additional parking around, and right around that section to be able to grab some of those spaces to keep this, you know, a walkable space. Hopefully, if it's a coffee shop that comes in, and then there's other kind of little shops in here that pulls people into this space and gets them walking through town.
Yeah, I can see though, it would be a little fuzzy on how many you'd be required to have, depending on the use on the first floor. Because you could have, if a restaurant is by seating,
Yeah.
depending on how you squeeze the seating in there, it could require more vehicles than.
Than what we have for that, yes,
than what
for
you-
sure.
What's allowed.
So as long as you're aware of that.
Yeah, so we're aware of that, and then also the, yes, so we look at that, and then also, remember, in the village, so then we take that and slash it in half, and that's the demand that we need.
So should you look at a cap or a minimum number of parking spaces based on the use, and that none of the uses, you know, whether you do it by the whole development or by the building, you'd say, you know, you're allowed, you know, 26 parking spaces cut in half for this particular use. If you had a different use that required more, then what?
Well, then we look at the distribution of the space in the buildings, and I think that's how it comes down
Yeah,
to.
so
Yeah.
the question is, do you look at it by building or for the whole
I think
development?
you look at it for the whole
The
thing.
whole
Yeah.
development. And so would there be some plan note saying that none of the uses, commercial, retail, office uses included would require by the ordinance more than X number of parking spots? I don't know, I'm just thinking of a way just to make sure that,
Well, I think we have that in the parking table that references that, and then it ties us back into the ordinance that was in effect
okay,
when it's approved.
Wouldn't that go back to planning? I mean,
It could go back to code as we, yeah.
because we have no way of knowing who's going to go in.
right.
And I mean,
So
can't-
that's the
trying to
question.
get businesses in there, but
Right, you can estimate what you think the building's uses are gonna be, but there's gotta be some way of making sure that uses go in there that don't require more parking than you've established. So I don't know how that would be done. Any ideas, Brendan?
I would have to, this is probably an item that I'd have to reach out to code and discuss with them, because in the long term, I mean, we need to establish what these uses are. It's open, you know, this is good flex space. There's any number of businesses that could go in there. So I think just, if not to determine the number of spaces needed, at least to establish what the policy is and the procedure is moving forward. Just that way, the board and the applicant both are very well informed of what that is and what their limitations could be in that regard.
yeah, because we're not going to want to see a big restaurant go in there and take up all. I mean,
Right.
it's just going to cause a problem, so.
Right, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, and what we tried to use was, one that would be the highest, other than a restaurant, which is different, is the use that has the higher demand for the parking to fit them in there, to make sure that there is, adequate spaces in there, because the last thing you want is, somebody driving in, driving out.
no, so, maybe Brendan can find some common sense solution to just ensure that some future tenant or, you know, owner of a business wouldn't go in that, because we're already cutting it in half,
Yeah, yeah.
the required number of spaces. Okay, I don't want to hang on that too long.
Yep.
I want to try to move through this as quick as we can, as far as we can get now, because we've got another application here.
While we were on the 6-1 items, I had two concerns. We kind of got stuck on it at the last meeting, and then I think also in the sketch plan. There's, I think, three items that different members had different perspectives on. And I think one was the amount of buildings, which I think has gone away. So that's one less. I guess the two that remain for me is the harmony with the existing buildings in the vicinity. And it's not so much the building's shape within the lot, it's the Woodbridge Road perspective. They just don't seem quite frontage amped up, I guess. Like the details on the Woodbridge profile. I don't know if it's lacking like a front entrance to make it seem like it's still inviting from the sidewalk versus.
We did add a lot of details. to
Yeah,
this.
no, it definitely has improved. It just still, for me, it felt like it wasn't that welcoming walking off a Woodbridge feel as you would, let's say, like the Bagel Basket and the Village Scoop. It looks like, here's my front door, please come in and visit. It was more like, hey, this is a parking lot. Like, it just didn't seem as inviting for
Well, yeah, I'm going to
that
go.
was just my,
No, I would agree with that, and I was trying to figure out for myself, is it the siding, the way the siding is, as well as the first-story windows? I'm trying to, I keep looking at it and trying to, you know, put my finger on exactly what it is, and so.
I stared at that
An entryway. it
image
might
for a
be-
bit.
Yeah, but I agree with you.
I do like the improvements, the
Yeah.
changes you have made.
Yeah, you've done a great job, yeah.
Yeah, I think if you look at the, kind of hard to see for the board members on there, but you can, when it catches up, we
I
can.
think if we, you know, there's gonna be signage in that strip along above the windows at the bottom. And most likely, whoever takes that first corner unit, there's gonna be you know, the name of the rest, or whatever goes in there. We could do a door on the side.
Could do a corner door.
The corner door, do you?
Yeah, that's,
really
we can,
nice.
we were kind of going back and forth on that. We didn't know if it would, but if you think that would work, we certainly could add a door
I think the
on
two,
the side.
yeah, the two, what is that, the gable ends of the front parcels or the front buildings themselves. There's a lot more windows on the parking facing side. I don't know what you have designed for the interior space.
Yeah, the problem for the second and third floor is we can't really get windows because of the design of the layout of the.
Interior,
It's
Yeah.
mostly the first floor anyway that we're
Right.
concerned with, right?
yeah.
But we definitely could add another entrance to the sides.
Yep.
I think the entrance, and I think someone threw out an awning or even that,
Yeah.
Just like that eyebrow, that kind of shelf.
Yeah.
The kind of soffit deal on
the
that.
continue, like almost.
Continue around the corner.
To me, those two profiles should be more impressive than the parking lot side.
Yep.
So whatever details you have on the parking side, include, but also give a little bit extra feature, if that makes
Yeah,
any
no,
sense.
we can do that.
And I'm glad Historic District Commission is looking at it too.
Yeah.
Because they're in a good position to,
And I don't want to contradict items that they're
right?
pulling into it either.
And they did like it.
Okay.
They were much happier with the smaller buildings than one big building.
Yes.
And they liked the design. So, but we can certainly make those changes to well, I call it the side of the building.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. It should, to me, that needs to look like the front of the building.
I just think a lot of that, you know, a lot of that's gonna grow in and you know, between the street, because you have that wetland and,
So I think we can do that on that corner, add that door detail there.
Yeah.
And make that,
and
a
put
drawing
like
in place.
a roof over the.
Yeah.
And then the other item that I had was I don't have the ordinance citing, but the pedestrian flow. I think we had talked about, or I brought up the last meeting, a crosswalk or something to go from, we'll say, the Pocket Park sidewalk to the M&T Bank building. Not the building, but I wish these had unit numbers on it. It would be,
Okay.
I guess, the
Road?
no, the larger building on your
Yep.
lot. So I don't know if it
Oh,
crossed.
if there's a connection and, yeah.
Yeah, if there's I don't know if an island could fit in the driveway where it kind of gave like a crosswalk and a little safe zone in between entering and exiting traffic. Am I conveying this well
Yeah,
without?
yeah, I
images?
think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, you know, you come down, you walk up the driveway on the sidewalk that's provided, and then by the handicap
Yep.
spot, if there was a crosswalk across the driveway. For me right now, if you're, you know, coming from Woodbridge Road, walking through the lot, that the top,
To get to the other side.
the
Yeah,
northern
yeah,
building,
yeah,
I
yeah.
guess, is easily accessible, but then I feel like you're walking through the parking lot to navigate the rest of the units.
Yep.
And one thing to consider would be, instead of just a marked crosswalk, a raised crosswalk that would also serve to make sure traffic wasn't moving too fast.
Yeah.
Not a big,
No, I'll take a look at that, yeah.
traffic bump,
Like a
but,
table?
yeah, a little bit of a gentle table that will
Yeah.
make it clear that this is for pedestrian use, and it will
It will be painted, yeah.
It will
And
alert
and
drivers
signed,
to
yeah.
know that you should be going very slow here.
Yeah.
So you don't anticipate I don't want to jump, go ahead.
No, those are the two major things, was the street view and then the flow of pedestrians, because we are trying to amp up that walkability. And where it was off the roadway, I think it was more important that meandering through the lot felt natural and still enjoyable for the pedestrian.
The thing I was going to ask, you feel like that building 4, you're going to have adequate access for delivery vehicles?
Yes, on that edge, yep.
I just saw the building numbers. That would have been easier.
What's that?
I didn't zoom in enough. I
Oh.
should have been calling out the building numbers.
Because, you know, that back driveway is not really going to be for the use of.
No, no, that's out, down, that's not for delivery or anything, that's the exit to the library, and then the pedestrian, you get kind of across that to the sidewalk.
I think Dylan had brought up a point at last meeting that that sidewalk was on library property. Was there any easements you needed for that? Did that get
That's
addressed?
I'll check for that.
I think it's in the deed, but we'll double check.
Okay.
I think we have the right to tie into that street.
Okay.
That still remains my favorite little building 4.
Mine too, yeah, and especially now with the patio
Oh,
in
yeah.
front, yeah.
Okay, let's try to wrap this up within the next 15 minutes for what we can do tonight, so we can get to the last,
Okay, so back on Chris's, right?
yeah.
We didn't get into the site and sub regulations yet. The notes he had.
Board requests a specific, oh yeah, the large tree.
And Goral Palmer's items.
Yeah, the Grohl Palmer stuff was mostly just tweaks in the drainage report. We can address that.
So the tree wasn't salvageable in
It's,
the layout and the,
I wish it, I really, I wish it was, but it's not only where it is, but You have to remember the roots are gonna be, the roots are as long as the tree.
Yeah.
It's not, if it was remove one unit, but it wouldn't be, it'd be removing most of that whole building. Because it's on the, it's pretty close to the middle part of that building.
Brendan, anything else that you know of that are hanging out there with respect to Chris's review?
The only thing I could really point to would be in his conclusion, and that would just be the building layout, but the board's already discussed that this evening.
Oh.
That would be the only other comment that could actually be in there.
Entrances for the residences are where?
In the rear.
In the rear? And there's a deck over the first floor?
Yes.
Are those multi-floor units, or are they?
Yeah, second and third floor.
Like townhouse style.
Yeah.
All right. And obviously, that includes using a lot of space for stairways, but I take it it's just what buyers want, is one of those, rather than an apartment with a single floor.
Yeah, looking for living space first, first floor, bedroom space, second floor.
Yeah, just like I say, you take up a lot of space with stairway.
Yeah.
But if that's the, what's the,
Yeah, but you don't have anybody living over you.
well, that's true. That's true.
Nice.
And you don't have to shovel exterior stairs. It's my nemesis.
Okay. Anything else? Anybody have?
No.
No. As far as the HDC's review, is that something the board should wait for before preliminary approval?
I believe before final approval, 100% sure, yes.
Yep.
As far as preliminary goes, HDC review it can run at the same time.
Okay. I guess my only comment was if something visually changes, it doesn't
As long as
make us have to go through preliminary again.
as long as nothing with what was given preliminary approval, as long as that doesn't change because of HDC review, then that should be fine.
Well, major changes. I mean,
Major
yeah.
changes.
Yeah, because we just talked
Still a
about,
fluid
we
site
just talked about adding doors and stuff
Right.
like that too, so, yeah.
I feel like with those, it's more than a cosmetic change, right? Or what's the board feel on that? I was contemplating preliminary approval motion, but I don't know, those are kind of substantial changes.
Yeah, they are kind of.
A lot of the issues are addressed. In the past, sometimes we've done, I don't know if I'm imagining this or not, at the next meeting, they could also be prepared for final, if the new material is submitted. So if we gave preliminary approval, we could jump right into final?
I mean, yes, procedurally, if you have all the materials ready for final approval, then you can jump straight into it. But again, I'm not sure. Did you include everything for 6.4 as well as 6.3?
Not for final today, no, obviously.
I also don't want
Yeah,
to give bad
but we have
advice
everything for preliminary.
if preliminary doesn't get approved and then you did all that work for it, so I don't.
Yes, no, I would like to, obviously, we'd love to have preliminary tonight, so then we can move forward and get the final. We just know, how long this process takes to be able to go through.
I think for me, not seeing that final detail on the building, I'd pause for preliminary, but I would love to see the next image for the next meeting and say, yes, this looks good, give preliminary approval and jump right in, but I'm just one voice and I don't know if that's a crazy idea or not.
My opinion is you've done really good work here in bringing us a lot of changes and updates and stuff that I think are really good. I would be fine with doing the preliminary. The problem is if you're not, or the board is not happy with the changes of the frontage and stuff that you make, then we go back to square one, pretty much.
Wouldn't you just
So,
No, we would just continue to final.
Just continue final?
we would, but
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
mean go
yeah.
back to square one with starting the process
Yeah.
over. I mean, of the work that needs to be done.
Oh, sure, no, yeah, I mean, I'd rather have us take that risk and make sure that we present a plan that shows those access changes on the front. We know what you're looking for.
Like if we come forward with final and you don't like what we did, we can do another meeting. It's
Right.
just, I think we can make it, I think we'll be able to make it look the way you want. And it just, you know, it's we'll take another 2 or 3 months to get back on.
Yeah, I think in the past, we've, in the final, we've made changes that basically changed what was approved in the preliminary. There's some overlap there, and if there was a reason that in the final it had to be changed, or it could affect something that was approved at preliminary, but we're going to improve the final plan anyway. I don't think if we approve preliminary, let me see if I'm saying this right, if we approve as a preliminary plan, it doesn't mean that a situation couldn't change or such that we want to see something in final plan that would have overruled something that was approved in the preliminary plan.
Absolutely, yeah, no.
We could go back to the performance.
You can go back to whatever, everything, yeah.
Yeah. So,
And you'll address Coral Palmer's items.
Absolutely.
right, right. So, is there interest in voting on preliminary approval now, or continuing it?
I'm interested in voting.
As am I.
I am now with that ironed out.
Okay. And,
I'll make a motion
Okay,
for approval, preliminary approval for 7 Woodridge Road on the preliminary site plan for map and lots 050-0111D, owned by IMP Realty.
okay, so second?
Second.
Okay. Moved by Gail, seconded by Steve. Any other discussion? Okay, call for vote. Mark?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 5-0. We'll jump right into final then.
Yep, so we'll work with Brennan and make sure everything gets corrected and adjusted and have to move forward.
And again, for the record, there'll be another public hearing at the same time, should there be any concern of any interested parties.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Next up, Bog Road Athletic Complex. Sorry to get the late start, but we'll do what we can do.
Should I plug in or?
Probably wouldn't hurt,
Okay.
in this case, there's some questions. So, while he's doing that, Brendan, would you set us up for this?
Yes, sir. So this is technically an amendment to an approved plan for the Bog Roads Field Athletic Complex. The proposed amendment is the inclusion of, I believe, 2 restrooms attached to the concessions building, if I'm not mistaken.
One's attached to an existing concession building and one's a freestanding building.
So this falls under section 563 of the site plan subdivision regulations, which limits the scope of review only to that which is changing. And that's the number one highlight I can give off of the SMPDC review, is that it treated this more as if this was a brand new application and not an amendment. So many of the items in here go above and beyond what would be required for this amendment.
So really, as an amendment, we just need to be focusing on the specific changes that are being made for this
Right, and
particular
if those
application.
changes have an impact on an ordinance or any other. So.
Okay. Then you want to give us an overview of the project, or one of you?
Sure. You want me? Okay. I'm Steve Blake. I'm with BH2M. We're working as a consultant for the town. So this project is mostly underground, with the exception of an expansion of the concession area, kind of at the lower parking lot. You can see my cursor here, and then a small new bathroom facility up by the football field. This was approved by the voters by a warden article probably about 6 months ago. This facility it's been through a few different amendments with the town and also with DEP over the past probably 15 years. This is probably the most minor of those amendments. What we're proposing to do is add a bathroom facility, or basically sewer, to concession stand, an existing concession stand by the baseball field. Also adding sewer to the maintenance building. So that's what Parks and Rec uses right here. A small bathroom facility next to the football field. And then also the sewer would be extended to the concession building by the football field. All of these facilities already have water to them, but they're not able to be used because there are no sewer facilities. So the purpose of this is to build a subsurface disposal system, which is this area right here, that would serve as a method to treat the effluent from each one of those facilities. As part of this, we're also amending a DEP stormwater permit. It's a minor amendment. There's really no structural changes that have to happen. It's more of an administrative permit, just because we're adding some disturbed area and a little bit of impervious area. The disposal system that we're proposing was actually approved in a previous amendment, but never constructed. So we're again wrapping that into this as well. But most of what you see here, the red is the sewer lines that would be underground in that infrastructure.
Any questions?
So bathroom facilities would be in 2 locations. Am I following that right?
Yep. So there's a small paved area right here next to this existing concession stand. So there would be about a 20-foot building expansion on the end there, and then a new standalone structure up here by the football field.
Okay, any other clarification questions before we have public hearing? No. Then can we have a motion to open a public hearing?
Move to open a public hearing for the Bog Road Athletic Field Complex site plan amendment, map 90, lots 84A, 84X, 40 and 50 Bog Road.
Second.
Okay, moved by David, seconded by Gail.
Before that, do you need to accept it as complete before opening up a public hearing?
Oh, right. Right, sorry.
Should I just make another motion to accept as complete? Or
Yes.
where that one's still
Yes.
active? We'll just redo that after?
Yeah, there was no.
A dead motion because it wasn't accepted.
Right. There was no nothing in the comments that I recall with issues of completeness.
Correct.
Okay.
I move to accept the site plan amendment as complete for review for Bog Road Athletic Field Complex, map 90, lots 84A and 84X.
Second.
Okay, moved by David and second by Gail. Any other comments regarding completeness? All right, we'll call for a vote. Mark?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 5-0. Now I think we can go into,
All right, let's see if I can do this again. Move to open the public hearing for Bog Road Athletic Field Complex, map 90, lots 84A and 84X.
Second.
okay, moved by David, seconded by Steve. Any comments? Call for a vote. Mark?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 5-0. Okay, is there anyone here who wishes to comment on this? Please come forward and give them some space in there please state your name and spell it for the recording secretary and make your comment or ask your questions.
My name is Christopher Richard Denon. I live at 53 Bog Road. I've lived here since '92. The town of York put land up to build a soccer field and also a football field, put dirt in. It's on wetlands. All around the football field is wetlands. Where you got this road going from up the hill, coming down, it's on Ken Churchill's land coming down is all wetlands. Both sides of the road are wetlands. How can you put a sewer under wetlands? And also, where they won't put the bathrooms, are they going to have a septic tank? Or are they going to basically use a line that goes out to the line? Because it's wetlands. I've been here since '92. How are they going to put it on wet land? Cement. The water is not drinkable there. It's just that where he's got the roadway going down, all that land is wetlands. How are you going to do that when you're going to have wetlands? Is there a law, they have to be 75 yards from wetlands to build?
Okay, we'll address your
Okay.
questions with
Yes, sir.
with the applicant.
Okay.
Any other concerns?
The concerns are this, that why do they want to do a bathroom there when they have the outer ones already there for going to the bathrooms? And during the winter, the soccer fields are not used. Because they're not used, it's just going to be, what is the cost for doing this to the taxpayers? What is the cost for doing this? When there has been no discussion from the citizens on the road. In fact, across the road from the soccer field, man has property. The property is supposedly not livable because it's on wetlands, but it's still there. And the house, you cannot drink water from the house property. And it's just that I feel that there should be more knowledge looked into this before putting sewer line down through wetlands. And is there a law basically that can protect people from this? I thought there was a law that says you cannot build on wetlands.
We'll make sure they address that question.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Hang on, and you'll get responses from that. Is there anyone else who has, yes?
I
guys.
Is your watch?
I want to thank all you guys for volunteering, because I know
Just
what
for the
that's
record,
like. But I'm Kenny Churchill, Churchill. I have 1, 2, and 3 Churchill Court that abuts next to the football fields. I just basically wanted to know how many people get to, like, if there's a football game, I'm going to guess that the bathrooms are locked and not all the people, like if there's 300 or 400 people there, are using the bathroom, because they're small bathrooms. I'm going to guess that it's maybe just used for the park or just for the concession people. Just curious to see what, because of the size, how many people actually have access to it, especially when there's jamborees and stuff. And something that really doesn't, people have to start taking in perspective on Bog Road. When it comes to watershed and stuff, there's been a lot of building and stuff from where we're at all the way up to Mount A. And the problem is there's a brook there. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Molten Brook, which goes between my properties. Over the years, when I'm trying to get permits and stuff like that, it gets harder and harder to meet the setbacks, only because, as we all know, especially if you've been on a planning board or an appeals board or with code enforcement, the water tables have been getting higher and higher, especially down on our properties. So what happens is year after year after year, it's just been crazy on how high the water tables have been. So as we know, you don't measure your setbacks from the water, you measure it from the vegetation that to where that point is, to where the water rises. I just think that we need to just focus a lot on how much is happening in that area. I'm not saying don't do the bathrooms or anything like that. I just want to make a concern that we have to be careful on Bog Road, because it is Bog Road for a reason. There's a lot of water, but you got to remember there are people at the bottom of that brook, and we have a lot of land there, and it just gets harder and harder to get a permit to meet the setbacks, just because everything gets pushed to that brook and just makes the vegetation higher and higher. But my biggest concern was just how many people are using the bathrooms if there's football games and soccer games at that size. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Regarding those questions, would you like to address those?
Address the events.
You want to start with that first? Sure.
So.
Can you turn your microphone on?
Yeah, and just give your name for the record.
Pete Murray, Parks and Recreation Director. So the town did vote $400,000 to install restroom facilities at the Bog Road Athletic Complex. And they would be accessible during events. That's the main point. The other really important part of this is currently the staff that works in the maintenance building at Bog Road, they're currently using porta potties for restroom facilities and having to, basically use running water drained into a bucket that's then dumped into porta potties. So that would address that issue as well. Those two things. Currently, this would quadruple the amount of restroom spaces that we would have. Right now we have 2 porta potties at the facility during the season. This would, which has met the demand to a certain degree, but this would quadruple what we currently have.
Okay. And you could tell us about the soils out there and the wetlands.
Sorry, this would double what we currently have. Those.
I was about to ask.
Yeah, my math was a little wrong there for a second.
Sure. Yeah. Just to speak to the wetlands a little bit, I guess one thing to keep in mind with this is this is all built already. The only thing new that we're building is the septic field, which is in an upland, not in a wetland, and the 11 by 18 bathroom facility. So we're not proposing any wetland impacts with any of this. Past so the original Bog Road facility does have a NERPA permit and an Army Corps permit for wetland fills for the soccer fields and the Little League baseball field. The football field maintenance building and the parking associated with the football field, those are all newer facilities out here, and none of that impacted wetlands. That was all done in upland areas. And where the location of where the disposal system is, we've had the soils looked at. They're not hydric soils. They're appropriate for a septic system. We're not impacting any natural resources with what we're doing. And again, most of the underground pieces of this are all in currently developed areas now. So we're not trenching through any natural resources to accomplish what we need to do.
And if you pulled up the town website and looked at shoreland zone, it's kind of, illustrative that the shoreland, the stream, the resource protection zone is quite a ways down back towards around that. Say it's almost out of view of that, or on the edge of that image that you have up there, correct?
Yeah, so.
To the west?
Yeah, maybe one thing to focus a little bit on is what you see here is the entire property that's owned by the town and is the Bog Road Athletic Facility. And probably about 75% of it is unusable because of the natural resources that are out there, because of the shoreland zone requirements. So, everything out here, is basically is undevelopable and is protected by those buffers. Everything that's built is closer to the road and adheres to those shoreland zone setbacks.
So to address some of the concerns of, the septic system leaching water into the ground table or water table or items like that, do you have any?
So we have a design by a licensed site evaluator. The soils are appropriate to handle, the amount of predicted flow that this would see. Beyond that, this will have a permit from the state. It'll be reviewed by the code office as well. So it's what we've designed is appropriately sized for the use.
And by state, you mean Department of Environmental Protection?
So they will not, it'll be DHHS that reviews the HHE 200, which is the subsurface disposal system design.
Okay.
But DEP, they're reviewing the stormwater permit amendment. And the design of that disposal system is part of that application. So they will have a chance to review it, but it's really DHHS that would review the real design of that system.
The Department of Health and Human Services does this?
Yeah.
Oh, that's strange.
Yeah, so stormwater versus septic, two different agencies.
Correct.
Yeah, so, and looking at the map, there's a limited residential setback along Bog Road and across the street from Bog Road. But a good portion of on the map, of the property does not show that either in resource protection or shoreland setback. There's also, some streams on the other side of the road and some major wetlands on the other side of the road. But it looks like by the map that there's a fair amount of, as you said, upland surrounding the area that you're looking to disturb.
Yes, and we're not looking to disturb a lot. Again, most of this is built. It's constructed, so there's not a lot of disturbance that happens as part of this amendment to the site.
And in the wintertime, What happens in the wintertime?
So there's staff out there working on maintenance and so on. So, you know, the two restroom facilities would be winterized, and then then we would obviously have the maintenance facility would continue to be used with a restroom inside that facility.
All right, any other questions? By the way, I don't think I ever closed the public hearing. So technically,
Could offer
can allow
testimony.
Ken to come up and,
like I said, I'm not fighting against it, I'm just curious if there's, I've lived there, so I know the jamborees, I don't know if you want me to go to the microphone, but.
Be better.
I'm just more curious on the capacity, as well as if there's 1,500 people on a football, while the soccer matches are going at the same time.
Is the bathroom, all I was asking was, is it open to those 1,500 people, or is it closed for like the workers, concession people, or that whole weekend, is there, you know, if hundreds or 1,000 people there, are they having access to that?
okay.
Is there a capacity for that?
Okay,
basically?
I apologize for not getting that specific question, but without objection, I close the public hearing.
Please.
So closed. Again, let's answer his specific question, if you would. Or you.
So as I said before, during events, it would be open to the public. That's the purpose of adding these restrooms. And the septic system is designed to accommodate the you know, the use that it's intended for.
So there's no, how many separate toilets are available between the two separate buildings?
There would be two in each, so four total.
Okay.
And in the maintenance facility?
One.
Okay. And again, constant use for, during a day-long event like you're talking about, should be no concern.
No, like Pete said, I mean, this has been designed for the number of bathroom stalls that we plan to have.
Okay.
I think this is one of those instances where, similar to the blasting, where the regulations don't really give us determination on the septic design. We'd have to rely on the engineer's stamp that met it for this project facility. And
what we don't see is a lot of what code sees or the DHHS sees about the specifications that have to be done. And they've been doing this a long time, and there's pretty specific requirements. And it's built to not interfere with any wetlands in any way, correct?
Correct.
I'm not sure if we should turn to the SMPDC review or if that's going to make things muddier, where it was done as a complete review versus items related to the amendment, the items of the amendment, I guess. We could.
Yeah, it might not be a bad idea to go over those items that are related to an amendment. Let's see if we can pull
Some of the items I can just go through regarding completeness, talking about landscape design, all that. We've already accepted it as complete, so.
Okay. Roadway and parking doesn't propose any alterations. Stormwater, minor amendment, which is corrected, a minor amendment application, stormwater permit has been submitted. And again, for any properties of a significant size, the Maine DEP does have to concur with any stormwater designs. Post-construction stormwater management. Is that this one of those that doesn't really apply because we're not changing the stormwater significantly with this?
One item was changing, right?
So any of the stormwater changes that would actually be taking place would be reflected in the DEP permit updates that they're presenting, I believe.
And they get that permit after approval here? Okay.
To my knowledge, yes.
Yeah.
So would you suggest our board let DEP handle the stormwater portion, or is there anything you see that where it's a town item, Brendan is also limited by what he can speak about. He can almost just help us with process tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So we're flying solo in a way.
I can elaborate a little bit on
Yeah,
stormwater
please.
if it's helpful.
That'd be great.
So there's an existing stormwater permit for the entire facility. It relies pretty much exclusively on buffers. And the way that DEP looks at stormwater permitting is for this type of a project, there are basic standards and general standards. Basic standards are basically like a lot of the post-construction stormwater management standards that you have, erosion control, things like that, making sure that, you know, when you're building the project and also when it's complete, everything's stabilized and you're not seeing any effluent coming from the site. And then general standards are stormwater quality. So the way that we've handled that with this facility is with buffers. So there are deed restricted areas for both the parking areas and also the fields. One thing that you have to consider when you do this is you have to treat 95% of all the impervious area and 80% of all the developed area. We were well over that with the entire facility. So just by adding a 11 by 20 building, it doesn't impact that permit. So their review is really administrative in nature. I don't expect there to be much of a technical review because it doesn't really impact the stormwater facilities.
The calculations are already maxed out, so
It was over designed.
Right.
So what we're building fits within that still.
they just need to put their final stamp on it.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. The other one under utilities, other comments under utilities. Where the water service for the proposed bathroom and maintenance building comes from.
Yep.
Show water service connection to the proposed building and proposed building expansion.
Yep, so those water services exist now, and we'll have to update our plan to show those, but they do exist.
Okay. Electrical service required for the duplex pump tank and control panel, as well as the location of the control panel.
Same thing, those would come off of the individual buildings. The control panels there would likely be a control panel on the maintenance building and then also the lower concession building.
Okay, and the HHE 200 form included in the application includes 3 septic tanks with volumes of the design flow. The site plan shows 4 1,250-gallon septic tanks. Confirm the wastewater disposal system has capacity to support the additional flow from the proposed bathroom building.
Yep, and when the HHE 200 gets refiled, it will reflect what we have on our plan. I think that the difference there was that when that plan was done, we were going to have 4 bathroom stalls in the lower bathroom and no kind of remote facility up by the football field. So the sizing doesn't change. It's just how it gets allocated to the different buildings.
Okay. The sewer trench detail on sheet 2 calls for 2-inch SDR 40, whereas the plan view calls for 4-inch pipe.
Yeah, that's a small detail that we can address.
Okay, and the sewer cleanouts proposed to have a removable PVC plug cap at the top of this cleanout secured with a concrete collar at grade.
Yep, so we'll have a separate detail with the cast iron cover and some of those areas that might see traffic.
Okay. And recommend adding a note to the sewer cleanout detail on sheet 2 that the cleanout shall be installed upstream of the bend elbow.
Yep.
That will be in the final plan. And provide a 1,250 gallon precast septic tank detail, include the riser detail if at grade access for maintenance will be provided.
Yeah, that's a standard detail that we can add.
Okay.
Which, is that Goral Palmer's review?
That is, yes, Goral Palmer's review, yes.
I'm not able to follow along with that. Is that in a larger document or standalone?
It's on the materials list, materials page.
Yeah, I had application material, complex plan set, and then SMPDC's.
Engineering review is the last, next to last item on the list.
I need to refresh my page.
Yeah, is that,
There we
that's
go.
Goral Palmer?
Yeah, they rebranded.
Oh, okay.
I believe they were actually bought out.
They were sold.
Oh,
Oh, private equity?
Then so this is the SMPDC site plan review. And comments were, no waivers, complete. Determine if site walk, planning board should determine whether they would like to schedule a public hearing. That's what we did. Letter of compliance from Public Works and Fire. Is that necessary, Brandon?
No, as there's no increase in capacity, no impacts to the roadways, and no addition, there's really no need for it in this case.
Likewise with the York Historic District Commission, because it's not disturbing any new land. Temporary markers not necessary. Application procedure. He's saying the procedures for preliminary and final plan shall be followed. For a site plan amendment,
It depends on the size of the site plan amendment. In this case, this would be reviewed as a minor site plan amendment, so you can review it in one meeting.
one approval. And sections 563. Well, he goes ahead and quotes that those portions, scope of review shall be limited to those portions, will be changed. So we don't need to go through sections 6.3.
Mr. Borgman, can I ask one question?
I'm afraid the public hearing is done, so I'm afraid we can't.
Yeah, in that section, the board should determine if an updated wetlands delineation should be completed for this project. I was looking at the GIS maps, and it seems, is the elevation, do you have elevations where the tank is located? I'm sure it's below the elevations of the grade for flowing, or is there a pump station?
Yeah, so we do have there's a platted profile on sheet 2 that shows the elevations, so I don't know if you have that plan, but There's a pump station kind of in front of the maintenance building in the parking lot. So everything would get lifted up from there up into the disposal system.
It's the wooded area kind of beyond the parking lot.
Yeah,
Okay.
right up here, yep.
I don't feel that there'd be wetlands up there would be my only comment on that.
Yeah, it's uphill, and there have been wetlands delineations done out there. There's nothing in this area.
Yeah, if you look at the GIS, it really just cuts across the, I'd say, the northwest corner of the property.
Right. General standards, 731. Preservation of existing trees, well, there's not going to be any significant cutting of trees, I assume.
Just what's needed for the disposal field.
They'll be maintained as grass after, I'm assuming? Or?
Yep.
All utilities shall be installed underground, including electric utilities.
Yep.
Yep. Landscape and provisions, is that where we're getting a little bit further afield from a site plan amendment?
I would say on that.
717.1.
Street trees and.
Yeah.
Unless the board is feeling like they would like to see some esplanades, no, it would not apply.
Yeah.
Not sure if that was in the
That's
proposed budget.
A little bit of overkill, yes. And again, this is because it's a minor site plan amendment, not a major site plan development or an initial site plan application.
I think there's talk about maybe putting trees close to the bathroom structure, but I would rather, for a maintenance issue, keep tree roots out of the septic design as much as possible. If it was, I don't know where he was specifically calling it to be placed, but
I would think so. Okay. Anybody have any questions here as we're going?
I just have one question. I'm just looking through, and I'm looking at the watershed report is 2006, the stormwater management is 2013, and the comment was made by one of the two gentlemen that things are getting worse as far as more water coming in. Are we feeling good that was your comment? Yeah. So I'm just looking at the reports that we're basing these thoughts on, and they're all 10 to 20 years old. Is there a concern that some of the things that are showing as not having water might now have water, and that we should be considering that? Or
I mean, I guess I just go back to, what this project is and what it's, as proposed, what it would be contributing to that. And it's, this is minor. We're not increasing impervious area. It's by more than a couple hundred square feet. So, this project by itself, I can confidently say that it's not having an impact on those types of things. Whether or not there are other things happening upstream of here or downstream, that very well could be the case, but that's not really part of what we're looking at.
yeah, I'm not asking how this is going to impact them.
Sure.
It's how that's going to, the additional water might impact your project.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say that, we haven't seen any signs of any of the facilities being impacted by that. The parking lots have been paved, they're still in good shape, the athletic fields are in good shape. And really, the only potential here, I think, would be with the new disposal system. But where it's located, we're pumping it uphill. It's in an upland. I can't foresee that that type of issue would be prevalent.
And I'll bet recently the water table has probably been lower than normal given our droughts. But yes, those, what would affect groundwater, locally at least, would be impervious surface. And again, as you say, this is minimum
Yep.
impervious surface.
Just skimming down through 6112, similar harmonious structures. I feel like the addition of the bathroom is,
Only so much you can do.
is fitting with having a sports complex. So
Well, that's true.
And I'd like
Just to comment on that, we also had the sketches done by the same person that designed and built all the other structures on that site, so.
they match.
Yeah.
And you're meant to, it's meant to be a good-looking building as far as you can do with a bathroom. Better looking than porta potties, probably.
Absolutely, yes. More pleasant to use as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd like to point out that it is 10:07.
Yes. Yes, we'll try to get moving through here. Just want to make sure we don't miss anything in the review.
SMPDC pointed out if there were additional like recycling or dumpsters required to maintain bathroom trashes or anything like that, or are there already dumpsters on site?
There are already dumpsters on site.
Let's see, shoreline overlay. It's unclear if the applicant is proposing any disturbance within the limited residential overlay and resource protection overlay districts. It looks like, based on the map, that you weren't.
Correct.
And that gets field checked at some point, or it's been field checked, so they know where the exact resource protection and limited residential overlay shoreline setbacks are on the property. Probably was done when larger construction was done.
Correct, yeah, and based on the wetland delineation.
It wasn't that long ago that the football field was added to the property, right? And that was a major change.
Correct, yep.
What was that, 2013? Is that when that was added?
Might have, probably even a little bit more recent than that, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe 2015, because I was on the board at the time.
And it points to LJB's review. Yes.
Yes, and we went over the LJB engineering review. So, any other comments or questions? So at this point, we then will set a date, or we'll continue it to a point where the final plan updates get submitted? Is that the?
You can continue until receipt of acceptable material. If the board felt comfortable with it, you could also make that a condition of approval as well.
Okay.
I was going to offer a condition to update the plan to address comments from LJB's July 14th review.
And there's really nothing else outstanding as far as the comments from the reviewer?
I didn't feel so. They went through most of them in the
Is-
limited scope, really.
Is the board comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Okay, you want to make a motion?
Yeah, just one quick thing, just to go over LJB's review. Those were all yes and no items, correct? It was, either show the water service or, right?
Right. So it's appropriate for a condition of approval?
Right. It was show the electrical service.
So the condition would be that that addressed all the comments from the reviewer. What's the best way to word that?
Yeah, well, as long as they're addressed, the problem is the items we're addressing, I just wanted to double check were a yes or no addressment, like it's either added to the plan or it's not, then the condition wasn't met. But if there was a question to, I guess, recalculate it,
Right.
because I don't think Goral Palmer will see the updates, is that correct? That'd be reviewed by town staff for compliance with the condition?
Goral Palmer, because
Okay.
since it is a town project, we would not be reviewing it.
Okay, so it'd be to update the plans to address comments from LJB's July 14th review to satisfy their,
Right.
to their satisfaction.
Yep.
Right? Everyone okay with that condition?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
I'll make a motion. I move to approve the site plan amendment for the Bog Road Athletic Field Complex, map 90, lots 84A and 84X, located on 40 and 50 Bog Road, owned by the town of York, with the following condition: to update the plans to address comments from LJB's July 14th review to their satisfaction.
Second?
Second.
All right. Moved by David, seconded by Gail. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Call for vote. Mark?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Yes.
And Steve?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, 5-0.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have
Findings of fact.
findings of fact. Just have to make it quick.
Yep. That was one of those simple but not.
Well, it's not.
Yeah. Not simple but not, but
Yeah,
not a lot to review really, because it was all other boards
yeah,
or other professions.
right. That, as long as we make that clear up front.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that.
Thank you. Yeah, you should make sure LJB's rates don't increase significantly. It's a national corporation,
Oh, is it?
not
Yes.
local.
Yes.
Yes.
We are.
I don't mind.
Okay, findings of fact.
Brendan, did you go through these?
Not to the point of making making a ton of revisions. I left most of the materials that the applicant had put in there.
For
I just-
accuracy?
Yeah, just tightened it in to our format and owned that.
Yep. I noticed a typo for technical and financial capacity. The applicant and agent have extensive experience. Should be maybe in the design. And then it's kind of italicized. I don't know if that was carryover from the draft format or,
Which page you on?
sorry, page 5 of 6, top item.
Oh, right. In the design, okay.
I think while reviewing this, there was, I feel like
It actually jumps from italic to non-italic,
Yeah.
the whole page. Just, for clarity, just make it consistent.
Yes.
and those conditions were met.
There was some question about the landscaping plan, and that's why it took so long to get the findings of fact here. Yeah, there's some questions on the landscape plan, whether or not they would actually meet the counts. They submitted a revised landscape plan this week. By my own counts, they have met that. We have Chris reviewing it right now. We should have his confirmation tomorrow.
With that being said, is that something where the chair could be authorized to sign after, or, you know what I mean, conditioning the signature to Chris's thumbs up? Or do we?
That is a question.
Or do we hold off until Chris's, or I guess is your count, I trust your counting ability.
I think for the most part, it was really just a question of whether clustering there were trees on the, I think it's the southeast corner, if the trees were too clustered together to be reasonable for the frontage and the amount of plantings that had to be in that zone.
So how comfortable do you feel that that has been done, or should we hold off?
Well, I just checked my email and Chris has responded, and it looks like there are still some questions about it.
Okay.
So I would say hold off for
Okay.
now.
With that information.
We have 5 days.
Yeah,
Expires-
actually.
Expires 28 July.
It says expiration date of 28 July.
60 days from the decision. The board can I believe the board can extend that. And if the information is not adequate, then we will reach out to the applicant. We'll see if they can write a request to either extend the period or come back for a waiver for that item.
That's also for when the conditions need to be met, so they have.
So if they have met
Chris is
them-
right, is that whatever needs to be clarified, they have till the 28th to do so, not us signing the findings, is that correct?
I believe so, yes. Findings are just the notice of decision, or is the planning board's notice of decision for that, so.
And is there a time clock on that? I just want to make sure we're not missing a window.
That should be within 60 days. Sorry, I misspoke. Notice of decision should be signed within 60 days of the decision actually being made. Final approval of the board is whenever the board signs off on the plan set. So that's final approval, is that. The findings of fact just say that the decision has been made and these are what the conditions are.
So, in other words, the 28th July is their timeline and not ours? Is that what you're saying?
I believe so, yes. That is the 60-day mark from the decision, so.
So we're okay to postpone this for another meeting?
I would say so, yes.
We've probably done it before.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that then. Any other notes, questions, comments?
I had a question under the conditions, on the last page, item 4, and that a silt sock will be utilized, so the plan is updated to address peer review comments. What are we trying to say there?
So that was for stormwater.
Yep,
They needed a
stormwater.
silt sock added, like a note stating that.
Okay, and I looked up, yeah.
So had they added that?
Yes, to my knowledge, Goral Palmer double-checked that one, and they were good on that.
Okay.
That condition can also just be reworded a little bit.
It should be, well, yeah, after 3, it should be a semicolon, and then that line should be reworded.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're calling out now. The motion itself almost needs to be
Yes,
reorganized.
yes.
Okay, any other questions?
Not this time around.
So then fix the italics and make so rather than conditions, we just know what has to be done, and that we'll authorize the chair at a later point. Is that what we're agreeing on here, or that we have enough information to authorize the chair?
I would feel more comfortable if sitting down with Dylan and going through Chris's email and calling Chris just to make sure that everything is absolutely above board.
Okay, then we don't need to vote on anything at this point then. Is that correct?
Put it back in the folder.
Okay.
They get notice that their clock runs out the 28th?
They are aware of the situation.
And there were no minutes.
And there are no minutes.
No minutes.
Okay.
Just for a quick recap of the future land use and ordinance committee, the water district met with us, and I think Dylan sent an ordinance amendment to us requesting some dimensional changes. But that's what our last meeting was about, just for an update.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll have.
It's actually in your email.
We'll try to have set a meeting where probably both the sewer and water will come to us again, talk about capacities and future things, because it could affect, at some point, we may have to resort to a growth ordinance limitation. It's a last resort, but if we can back it up with facts, we'll do it. We'll have to do it, because when you run out of the capacity of either one of those,
Yep.
you're not going anywhere. And it's a difficult thing, because you never know for sure when the capacity runs out until it's too late to do anything about it. So it's always a bit of a educated guess on when you will or might run into problems. But there's all kinds of issues that they brought up, and yeah, it's something that we have to be aware of and updated on. Okay, then if there's nothing else, we are adjourned.
Okay.
Thank you.